You have just woken up as a great white shark in the cool sunrise waters off Seal Rock. For the next 3 hours, you are going to experience a silent ambush on seals, a sudden storm rolling above, and even a tense encounter with patrolling orca sand. This won't be easy, so good luck. But before we get into this journey of the great white shark, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, like the video, and why not leave a comment on where you are tuning in from and what animal you want me to cover next. Now, let's begin this epic adventure together. The world above shimmers in silver light as you glide through the early morning waters, your powerful tail beating with the steady rhythm of a resting heart. Each stroke propels you forward through the liquid silence, unhurried and graceful, along the familiar contours of the surf zone reef shelf. The ocean stretches endlessly before you, a vast cathedral of blue-green light where you are both worshipper and deity. Your hide brushes against invisible layers of water, each one telling its own story of temperature and current. The surface layer carries the warmth of yesterday's sun, while deeper currents whisper of distant polar waters and midnight depths. These thermal boundaries paint themselves across your sensitive skin like brushstrokes on canvas, guiding your path through the three-dimensional highway of the sea. Salt water flows steadily across your gills, carrying with it the taste of the ocean's morning breath. Each molecule holds memories, the metallic tang of plankton blooms, the earthy richness of kelp forests, the clean bite of open water that has traveled thousands of miles to reach this moment. Your gill slits flutter rhythmically, filtering life from the sea with the efficiency of millions of years of evolution. But it is through your most extraordinary sense that the ocean truly reveals itself. Along your snout and around your head, thousands of tiny pores contain the ampullae of Lorenzini, electroreceptors, so sensitive they can detect the electrical field of a single heartbeat from across a football field. As you cruise through the morning calm, these invisible sensors sweep the water like radar, painting a picture of life that human minds can barely comprehend. Somewhere in the blue distance, a school of fish moves in perfect synchronization, their collective bioelectricity creating a soft glow in your sensory field. Closer, much closer, the slow pulse of a resting seal reaches your receptors, a steady double thump that speaks of fat reserves and coastal rocks. Even the ocean floor itself hums with electrical activity, as countless creatures buried in sand and mud continue their hidden lives, unaware of the apex predator passing overhead. Your heartbeat remains steady, measured, efficient. Unlike the frantic mammals of the surface world, you waste no energy on anxiety or haste. Each beat pumps blood through your massive frame at precisely the rate needed to maintain your cruise through the liquid world. Your liver, heavy with oil, acts as both fuel tank and ballast, keeping you perfectly balanced in the water column without conscious effort. The morning light filters down through the water in shafts of liquid gold, creating a constantly shifting mosaic of brightness and shadow. Your vision, perfectly adapted to this underwater realm, takes in the full spectrum of blue and green wavelengths while filtering out the harsh reds that fade quickly in the depths. The world appears painted in shades of turquoise and silver, a color palette that would seem alien to surface dwellers but feels like home to you. As you move through this peaceful morning patrol, your lateral line system, a network of pressure-sensitive organs running along your sides, detects the subtle vibrations of a world in motion. The distant rumble of waves breaking against rocks, the flutter of a fish's tail fin, the almost imperceptible current created by a crab scuttling across the bottom. All of these create ripples in your sensory universe, adding layers of information to your understanding of the sea around you. Your muscular tail works with mechanical precision, each sweep moving tons of water with minimal effort. The hydrodynamic perfection of your body, refined over 400 million years of evolution, allows you to glide through the water with less energy expenditure than any machine humans have ever created. You are a masterpiece of biological engineering, every curve and angle designed for efficiency in the marine realm. The reef shelf below tells its own story through your senses. Ancient coral formations create electrical shadows, while the limestone and volcanic rock generate their own subtle magnetic signatures. Your brain, though smaller than a human's, processes this three-dimensional map with stunning accuracy, building a mental picture of your territory that includes not just physical features, but the electrical and magnetic fingerprints of every significant landmark. Small fish dart between the coral heads below, their movements creating tiny pressure waves that your lateral line reads like braille. A stingray buried in sand betrays its presence through the electrical activity of its gills, while a lobster in a crevice generates the specific frequency signature of its species. This is your world, not the violent feeding frenzy of popular imagination, but a realm of subtle senses and patient observation. The morning's first hunt may come soon, but for now, you are content to cruise in the silver light, your body perfectly at ease in the medium that has shaped your kind for eons. The ocean breathes around you, and you breathe with it, suspended in liquid meditation as the day begins its slow awakening above the waves. Your journey through these waters is both ancient and eternal, a dance of predator and prey, of survival and grace, played out in the vast blue theater of the sea. Each stroke of your tail writes another line in the endless story of life beneath the waves, where you reign not as a monster, but as a perfectly adapted citizen of the deep. First hunt at Seal Rock. The familiar silhouette of Seal Rock rises from the depths ahead, its barnacle-encrusted surface breaking the water's surface like the back of some ancient sleeping giant. But your attention is not on the rock itself. It is on the warm-blooded treasures that cluster around its base, their bodies radiating heat signatures that call to you like beacons in the cool morning water. A colony of seals has gathered here, as they do every morning, their sleek forms creating ripples on the surface, as they dive and surface in their endless search for fish. From below, they appear as dark shadows against the silver ceiling of the sea, their movements lazy and unguarded. They are mammals, like the humans who sometimes intrude upon your realm, but unlike humans, they are part of the ocean's natural order and part of your natural prey. You begin your approach from the deep water beyond the rock, your movements becoming even more deliberate and controlled. The art of the hunt requires patience, timing, and an understanding of the three-dimensional chess game that is underwater predation. Your prey swims in 2 dimensions, bound to the surface by their need to breathe, while you command the full depth of the water column. The thermocline, that invisible boundary between warm surface water and the cooler depths, becomes your ally. You position yourself just below this thermal barrier, where the temperature differential helps mask your presence from the seal's limited underwater vision. Here, in the blue-green twilight 40 feet below the surface, you become part of the ocean itself, a shadow among shadows. Your electrical senses lock onto the bioelectric signature of a particular seal, a young adult whose heartbeat suggests recent exertion and the kind of fat reserves that make for a worthwhile meal. The seal's movements are predictable, following the same diving pattern that seals have used for millennia. Down to 20 feet, a quick search for fish, then back to the surface for air. The rhythm is as regular as clockwork, and just as exploitable. You adjust your position with micro-movements of your pectoral fins, calculating angles and distances with the precision of a guided missile. But unlike any human weapon, your approach is powered by 400 million years of evolutionary refinement. Your body moves through the water without creating turbulence, your dark upper surface blending perfectly with the depths below, while your pale underside matches the bright surface above, a natural camouflage that renders you nearly invisible from every angle. The seal begins its descent, unaware that it has chosen this dive as its last. You rise to meet it, your powerful tail driving you upward with increasing speed. The physics of your attack are brutal in their efficiency. You are accelerating several tons of muscle and cartilage through the water, building momentum that will carry you completely clear of the surface if necessary. The strike, when it comes, is over in seconds. Your jaws, powered by muscles that can generate 2 tons of pressure per square inch, close around the seal's midsection with mechanical precision. There is no prolonged struggle, no drawn-out battle, just the sudden, decisive application of overwhelming force. The seal's body goes limp almost immediately, its nervous system overwhelmed by the trauma of the bite. The impact carries you both toward the surface, the seal's body adding its own momentum to your upward trajectory. For a moment, you breach completely, your massive form suspended in air, and spray as gravity and physics play out their ancient dance. The morning light catches the water cascading from your hide, creating a momentary rainbow in the salt spray before you crash back into the sea. The surface erupts in foam and turbulence, but beneath the chaos, you have already begun to sink back toward the depths, your prize secure. The seal's body, no longer struggling, hangs limp in your jaws as you adjust your grip for easier swallowing. This is not the frenzied feeding of movie fiction. It is the calm, methodical consumption of a predator who has just completed a successful hunt. Around you, the ocean begins to respond to the sudden infusion of blood and tissue into the water. Within minutes, the first pilot fish arrive, their keen senses having detected the chemical signature of your kill from hundreds of yards away. They dart between your gills and fins, eager to claim their share of the feast in the form of small scraps and particles that escape your grip. Above, the remaining seals have fled the immediate area, their alarm calls carrying across the water as they seek safety in numbers and distance. But already, some are beginning to return, drawn by the same fishing grounds that brought them here in the first place. The ocean is vast, and memory is short for creatures who must eat every day to survive. Your metabolic rate begins to slow as your body shifts from hunting mode to digestion mode. The massive meal now filling your stomach will sustain you for days, perhaps weeks, depending on the size of the seal and the temperature of the water. This is the fundamental rhythm of your existence. Brief, intense periods of activity, followed by long stretches of energy conservation. The pilot fish continue their dance around you, their presence oddly comforting in the aftermath of the hunt. They are old companions, these small fish who have chosen to share their lives with sharks. They clean your wounds, eat your scraps, and in return receive protection and transportation through the vast ocean. It is a partnership older than continents, a testament to the intricate relationships that bind all ocean life together. As you begin to settle into the deeper, cooler water for the long process of digestion, you feel the satisfaction that comes from a successful hunt. Not the savage joy of human imagination, but the quiet contentment of a predator who has just secured its survival for another day. The ocean around you pulses with life, and you are part of that pulse, connected to every creature from the smallest plankton to the largest whale by the invisible threads of the marine food web. The morning hunt is over, but the day's journey has only just begun. Somewhere in the distance, currents are shifting, temperatures are changing, and new opportunities are arising. You are a creature of the deep, and the deep is calling you home. Slow digestion drift. The hunt's adrenaline fades like ripples on still water as you allow yourself to sink deeper into the ocean's embrace. Here, 40 feet below the surface bustle, the water grows noticeably cooler against your hide, and the familiar pressure of depth presses gently against your massive frame. This is where you belong in the hours after feeding, suspended in the blue-green twilight, where digestion can proceed without the energy demands of surface swimming. Your body knows this rhythm as surely as the tides know the moon. The explosive burst of energy that powered your attack on the seal must now be balanced by a corresponding period of rest and conservation. Like a finely tuned engine shifting into idle, your metabolism begins to slow, your heart rate dropping to match the peaceful cadence of the deep water currents. The seal's body, now secure in your stomach, begins the long process of breakdown and absorption. Your digestive system, refined over millions of years of evolution, is a marvel of biological efficiency. The spiral valve in your intestine, a unique feature among fish, increases the surface area for nutrient absorption while slowing the passage of food through your system. Every calorie will be extracted, every protein utilized, nothing wasted in the economy of the sea. Your massive liver, which can account for up to a quarter of your body weight, begins to process the rich seal blubber into the oils and compounds that will fuel your next journey across the ocean. This organ serves as both fuel tank and ballast system, its density carefully regulated to maintain your neutral buoyancy in the water column. As the seal's fats are broken down and stored, your liver adjusts its composition, keeping you perfectly balanced in the liquid medium that is your home. The process generates its own internal heat, a biological furnace that helps maintain your body temperature above that of the surrounding water. This heat, trapped and circulated by your countercurrent heat exchange system, allows you to function in waters that would slow other fish to near paralysis. Your muscles remain flexible and responsive even as the ocean around you grows cold, a crucial advantage in the three-dimensional hunting ground of the deep. Around you, the soundscape of the ocean creates a symphony of life that few surface dwellers ever experience. The distant, haunting songs of humpback whales drift through the water like voices from another world, their complex melodies carrying for miles through the acoustic medium of the sea. Closer, the rhythmic creaking of kelp forests sways in the current, a sound like old sailing ships at anchor, adding its own percussion to the underwater orchestra. The water itself seems to breathe around you, rising and falling with the slow pulse of deep ocean swells. These are not the chaotic waves of the surface, but the deep, regular breathing of the planet itself, swells that began their journey thousands of miles away and will continue long after you have moved on. Your body moves with these rhythms, rising and falling in perfect harmony with the sea's ancient breathing. Your gill slits work steadily, extracting oxygen from the water with remarkable efficiency. Unlike mammals, who must hold their breath when they dive, you are designed to breathe the ocean itself. Each gill filament is a miracle of biological engineering, maximizing the surface area for gas exchange while minimizing the energy cost of respiration. The water that flows across your gills carries not just oxygen, but information. Chemical messages from across the ocean that speak of distant currents, temperature changes, and the movements of prey. This is the hidden truth of your existence, that the dramatic moments of the hunt represent only a tiny fraction of your life. The vast majority of your days are spent like this, suspended in the blue medium, conserving energy while your body processes the fuel that will carry you across ocean basins. You are not the relentless killing machine of human nightmares, but a perfectly adapted wanderer of the deep, spending most of your time in something approaching meditation. The concept of distance takes on new meaning in this liquid world. A journey that would exhaust a land animal becomes a gentle glide through three-dimensional space, your body's natural buoyancy, reducing the energy cost of travel to almost nothing. You can cross entire ocean basins on the energy stored from a single large meal, your body's efficiency putting human transportation to shame. As your digestion proceeds, small scavengers begin to gather in your wake. The chemical signature of your meal attracts a diverse community of ocean cleaners, tiny fish that feed on the microscopic particles that escape your digestive system, crustaceans that pick at the dead skin cells that constantly slough from your hide, and bacteria that break down the organic compounds in your waste. Nothing is wasted in the ocean. Every molecule is recycled. Every nutrient returned to the great cycle of marine life. The temperature layers around you tell their own story of the ocean's three-dimensional structure. Warmer water from the surface mixes with cooler currents from the depths, creating invisible highways that you can navigate by feel alone. Your body responds to these thermal cues like a living compass, instinctively following the paths that will lead you to the richest feeding grounds and the most efficient travel routes. Time moves differently in the deep. Without the sun's daily passage to mark the hours, without the frantic pace of surface life, you exist in a realm where patience is not just a virtue but a survival strategy. Your body has evolved to make the most of every calorie, every moment of rest, every opportunity to conserve energy for the challenges ahead. The ocean around you pulses with a life force that connects every creature in the marine ecosystem. The phytoplankton that forms the base of the food web, the small fish that feed upon it, the larger predators that hunt them, all are part of a complex web of relationships that has existed for millions of years. You are not separate from this web, but an integral part of it, your presence helping to maintain the balance that allows the ocean to thrive. As you drift in the cool depths, your body slowly processing the morning's kill, you embody the ancient wisdom of the sea, that survival comes not from constant struggle, but from understanding the rhythm of effort and rest, of hunting and patience, of energy spent and energy conserved. The ocean has taught you well, and you have learned to listen to its lessons with your entire being. Open water cruise. The familiar boundaries of the coastal shelf begin to fall away beneath you as you glide toward the open ocean, leaving behind the rocky reefs and kelp forests that have been your hunting grounds for the past few days. The transition is gradual at first. The bottom simply grows deeper, the water slightly clearer, the sounds of the coast becoming more distant. But then, almost imperceptibly, you cross an invisible threshold and enter the vast blue desert of the open sea. Here, the ocean reveals its true character. Gone are the vibrant greens and browns of the coastal waters, replaced by an endless expanse of cobalt blue that stretches to the horizon in every direction. The water column extends thousands of feet below you, creating a three-dimensional void so vast that it defies human comprehension. This is the true ocean, not the shallow margins where land meets sea, but the deep heart of the planet's largest wilderness. Your body responds to this environment with the familiarity of countless generations. Your ancestors have been making this journey for millions of years, following invisible highways through the open ocean that connect feeding grounds thousands of miles apart. The knowledge of these routes is encoded in your very cells, passed down through genetic memory and refined by personal experience into an internal map of extraordinary precision. The sun above provides your first navigation reference, its angle and intensity telling you not just the time of day, but your approximate position on the planet's surface. Your eyes, adapted to the underwater world, can detect polarized light patterns that remain invisible to most other creatures. These patterns, created by the sun's rays passing through the atmosphere and water, form a celestial compass that guides you even when the sun itself is hidden by clouds. But your most remarkable navigation tool operates on a level that human science is only beginning to understand. Deep within your brain, specialized cells respond to the Earth's magnetic field, creating an internal compass that never fails. This magnetic sense allows you to navigate with precision across thousands of miles of seemingly featureless ocean, following magnetic highways that crisscross the globe like underwater roads. The magnetic field carries more than just directional information. Variations in its strength and orientation create a unique signature for every location on Earth, a magnetic fingerprint that allows you to return to specific feeding grounds with remarkable accuracy. Your brain processes this information continuously, building and updating a mental map that includes not just where you are, but where you have been and where you need to go. As you settle into the rhythm of open water cruising, you become aware of your traveling companions. A small school of remoras has attached themselves to your hide, their sucker-like mouths, creating a sensation that is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, simply familiar. These fish are old partners in the ocean's complex web of relationships, trading their cleaning services for transportation and protection. The remoras glide effortlessly in your slipstream, their bodies perfectly positioned to take advantage of the pressure wave created by your passage through the water. They are skilled pilots, knowing exactly where to position themselves to minimize drag, while maximizing their access to the food particles that your movements stir up from the water. Their presence adds to the sense of community that often accompanies long ocean journeys. A solitary sea turtle joins your convoy, its ancient eyes meeting yours with the mutual recognition of fellow ocean wanderers. The turtle, perhaps 100 years old, carries its own navigation system and follows its own mysterious routes across the Pacific. For a time, your paths converge, two very different creatures sharing the same vast highway through the blue. The turtle's presence reminds you of the ocean's incredible diversity. While you are built for speed and power, the turtle embodies patience and endurance. Its shell, scarred by decades of ocean travel, tells stories of encounters with predators, storms, and the countless challenges of life in the open sea. Yet here it swims, a testament to the many different ways that life has found to thrive in the marine environment. Your tail beats with the steady rhythm that will carry you across thousands of miles of open ocean. Each stroke is precisely calculated to maximize efficiency while minimizing energy expenditure. The motion becomes almost meditative, a repetitive pattern that allows your mind to focus on the subtle sensory inputs that guide your journey. The water around you seems empty to surface observers, but your enhanced senses reveal a hidden world of activity. Microscopic plankton drift in invisible clouds, their collective movements creating subtle currents that you can detect and follow. Deep below, the ocean floor generates its own magnetic and electrical signatures, providing additional navigation references for your internal compass. Schools of fish pass like ghosts in the blue distance, their movements creating pressure waves that your lateral line system reads like a book. Some are potential prey, others simply fellow travelers in the vast ocean ecosystem. Your brain catalogs each encounter, building a database of information that will prove valuable in future journeys. The temperature of the water tells its own story of ocean currents and global circulation patterns. Warm water from the tropics mixes with cooler currents from the poles, creating a complex three-dimensional map of thermal highways. Your body responds to these temperature changes automatically, adjusting your metabolism and behavior to take advantage of the most efficient travel routes. As the hours pass, the meditative quality of open water cruising begins to affect your consciousness. The vast blue expanse induces a state of calm alertness, your mind focused yet relaxed as you surrender to the rhythm of the ocean. This is where you belong, not in the confined spaces of aquariums or the shallow waters of beaches, but in the limitless expanse of the open sea. The horizon ahead holds infinite possibilities. Somewhere in the blue distance lie feeding grounds rich with prey, mating grounds where you will continue the ancient cycle of reproduction, and challenges that will test your survival skills to their limits. But for now, you are content to glide through the liquid medium that is your home, accompanied by your small entourage of ocean companions, following the invisible roads that connect all the world's oceans into one vast, interconnected system. The open ocean calls to something deep in your genetic memory, a voice that speaks of freedom and endless possibility. You are a creature of the deep, and the deep is calling you home. Senses of the deep. As you cruise through the open water, your world expands beyond the simple concepts of sight and sound that dominate human perception. The ocean speaks to you in a language of electricity and pressure, of chemical gradients and magnetic fields, creating a sensory experience so rich and complex that human science is only beginning to understand its true nature. Your most extraordinary sense begins in the thousands of tiny pores that dot your snout and head, the ampullae of Lorenzini. These remarkable organs, filled with a jelly-like substance that conducts electricity better than seawater, can detect electrical fields as weak as 5 billionths of a volt. To put this in perspective, you could sense the electrical activity of a small fish's gills from a distance of several football fields, or detect the beating heart of a seal from over a mile away. Every living creature generates its own electrical signature. The rhythmic contractions of muscles, the flow of ions across cell membranes, the basic processes of life itself, all create tiny electrical fields that ripple outward through the conductive medium of salt water. Your ampulle read these signals like a vast, three-dimensional radar system, painting a picture of life around you that extends far beyond the reach of your eyes. The electrical landscape of the ocean is incredibly complex. Schools of fish create collective electrical clouds that pulse and shimmer with their coordinated movements. A single tuna, its muscles working hard to maintain speed, glows like a beacon in your electrical vision. Even the ocean floor itself generates electrical activity, as buried creatures move through the sediment, and underground springs create their own ionic signatures. But electricity is just one layer of your sensory world. Running along both sides of your body, from head to tail, is your lateral line system, a network of pressure-sensitive organs that detects the slightest movement in the water around you. While human ears can detect sound waves traveling through air, your lateral line system reads the pressure waves that constantly pulse through the ocean medium. Every movement in the water creates its own signature pressure wave. A fish, swimming 50 feet away, generates a distinctive pattern of compressions and rarefactions that your lateral line reads like a fingerprint. The size of the fish, its swimming style, even its species, all can be determined from the pressure waves it creates. A school of sardines produces a complex interference pattern of overlapping waves, while a lone sea turtle generates the slow, steady pulse of its powerful flippers. Your lateral line system also detects the ocean's own movements. The long, rolling swells that march across the Pacific create pressure, changes that you can feel deep in your body. Underwater currents, invisible to the eye, reveal themselves through subtle pressure differentials. Even the distant crash of waves against a shore creates vibrations that travel for miles through the water, providing navigational information about the location of land. Your sense of smell operates on a scale that makes human olfaction seem primitive by comparison. Water flowing across your gills carries chemical messages from across the ocean, each molecule telling its own story of distant events and hidden opportunities. The scent trail of a school of fish can persist for hours after they have passed, creating an invisible highway in the water that you can follow with remarkable precision. Blood in the water, even in concentrations as low as 1 part per billion, triggers an immediate response in your chemical detection system. Your nostrils, positioned for maximum water flow, can distinguish between the blood of different species, the age of the wound, and even the health status of the injured animal. This is not the mindless feeding frenzy of popular myth, but a sophisticated analysis system that helps you locate the most energy-efficient prey. Your eyes, often underestimated in discussions of shark senses, are actually remarkably sophisticated instruments adapted for the underwater world. The ocean filters light in predictable ways, with reds disappearing first and blues penetrating deepest. Your vision is optimized for this blue-green underwater spectrum, allowing you to see details that would be invisible to human eyes at similar depths. The tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind your retina, acts like a mirror, reflecting light back through your eye and effectively doubling your visual sensitivity. This adaptation allows you to hunt in the dim light of deep water or the blue twilight of dawn and dusk. Your eyes can detect the subtle silhouettes of prey against the surface light or the bioluminescent flashes of deep-sea creatures in the absolute darkness of the abyss. Motion detection is particularly acute in your visual system. A fish that remains perfectly still might be invisible to you, but the slightest movement, a fin twitch, a gill flutter, immediately draws your attention. Your brain processes visual information with remarkable speed, calculating the trajectory and speed of moving objects with the precision of a guided missile system. But perhaps Your most mysterious sense is your ability to detect magnetic fields. Somewhere in your brain, specialized cells respond to the Earth's magnetic field, creating an internal compass that never fails. This magnetic sense allows you to navigate across thousands of miles of ocean with remarkable accuracy, following magnetic highways that crisscross the globe like underwater roads. The magnetic field carries more than just directional information. Local variations in magnetic strength and orientation create unique signatures for different locations. Magnetic fingerprints that allow you to return to specific feeding grounds with remarkable precision. Your brain processes this information continuously, building and updating a mental map that includes not just where you are, but where you have been and where you need to go. As you glide through the deepening blue, the visual world around you begins to change. The bright turquoise of the surface waters gives way to deeper blues and purples, the colors shifting as depth filters out different wavelengths of light. The familiar greens and browns of coastal waters are replaced by an alien palette of indigo and violet, a color scheme that speaks of the deep ocean's otherworldly nature. In the distance, barely visible in your peripheral vision, a small fish hovers motionless in the water column. Its electrical signature is faint, almost masked by the background noise of the ocean's own electrical activity. Your ampullae detect the steady pulse of its gill movements, the slight electrical field generated by its nervous system. For a moment, you consider investigating, but the fish is small, the energy cost of pursuit too high for the potential reward. Instead, you file the information away in your remarkable memory, adding another data point to the vast catalogue of sensory information that guides your movements through the ocean. This is the reality of your existence, not the savage predator of human imagination, but a sophisticated sensor platform, constantly gathering and processing information about the world around you. The deep ocean holds countless secrets, and your senses are the keys that unlock them. Every electrical field, every pressure wave, every chemical trail tells part of a larger story, the story of life in the sea, of which you are both observer and participant. The ocean speaks to you in its ancient language, and you have learned to listen with your entire being. Passing dolphins. The first sound reaches you as a series of sharp clicks echoing through the water, the acoustic signature of bottlenose dolphins approaching from the northeast. Their echolocation calls bounce off your massive frame and return to them with information about your size, shape, and species. Within seconds, they know exactly what you are, just as you know what they are from the distinctive pattern of their bioelectric signatures. A pod of 8 dolphins materializes from the blue distance, their sleek forms cutting through the water with an efficiency that even you can appreciate. They move with the fluid grace of creatures perfectly adapted to their environment, their powerful tails propelling them forward in smooth, undulating motions that seem to flow like liquid music through the sea. The dolphin's approach is neither aggressive nor fearful, but something more complex, a mixture of curiosity and caution that speaks to their intelligence and social nature. They have encountered sharks before, these clever mammals, and they understand the unspoken rules of engagement that govern such meetings in the open ocean. Respect, distance, and careful observation are the watchwords of this underwater diplomacy. Their echolocation calls intensify as they circle you at a respectful distance, their sonar painting detailed three-dimensional images of your body in their minds. The clicking sounds create a complex acoustic environment, with each dolphin adding its own voice to the chorus. The sounds bounce off your hide and return to them with information about your mood, your recent feeding status, and your likely intentions. You respond to their presence with subtle changes in your swimming pattern, slowing slightly and maintaining a steady course that signals your peaceful intentions. In the complex social dynamics of the ocean, such signals are crucial. A sudden acceleration or change in direction could be interpreted as aggression, while maintaining your current path demonstrates that you pose no immediate threat to the pod. The largest dolphin, likely the pod's matriarch, approaches slightly closer than the others, her intelligent eyes studying you with the calculating gaze of a fellow apex predator. Dolphins, despite their playful reputation, are skilled hunters in their own right, capable of coordinating complex group attacks and using sophisticated strategies to capture prey. This female recognizes you as a peer, different in method but similar in purpose. Her echolocation calls change frequency and intensity as she conducts what can only be described as a detailed acoustic examination of your body. The sound waves penetrate your skin and reflect off your internal organs, creating a sonic X-ray that reveals your current health status and recent feeding history. The partially digested seal in your stomach does not escape her attention, and she communicates this information to the rest of the pod through a series of whistles and clicks. The other dolphins respond to their leader's assessment with their own vocalizations, creating a complex conversation that plays out in the acoustic medium of the sea. Their language is sophisticated, capable of conveying detailed information about their environment, their social relationships, and their intentions. You may not understand their words, but you recognize the tone, calm, curious, but always alert. Two younger dolphins, their curiosity overcoming their caution, venture closer to investigate your massive form. Their echolocation calls intensify, the sound waves creating a tickling sensation across your skin as they examine your gills, your fins, and the distinctive pattern of your hide. They are clearly fascinated by your alien anatomy, so different from their own mammalian bodies yet equally well adapted to life in the sea. The interaction takes on an almost playful quality as the young dolphins begin to test your reactions. They dart in and out of your personal space, their movements quick and unpredictable, watching for any sign of aggression or interest. You respond with the patience of a creature that has learned to conserve energy for truly important matters, maintaining your steady course while allowing them to satisfy their curiosity. The pod's echolocation creates a complex acoustic environment that reveals details about the surrounding water that even your enhanced senses might miss. Their calls illuminate schools of fish in the distance, reveal the presence of other marine life, and map the subtle temperature and salinity changes that characterize different water masses. In a sense, you are benefiting from their superior acoustic abilities, gaining information about your environment that supplements your own sensory input. As the minutes pass, the dolphins' initial curiosity begins to wane. They have learned what they came to learn, that you are a well-fed, peaceful shark with no immediate interest in hunting. Their assessment complete, they begin to lose interest in your presence, turning their attention to other matters. The ocean is vast, and there are many other encounters to be had, many other mysteries to investigate. The matriarch gives a final series of clicks, perhaps a farewell, or simply a last acoustic snapshot of your form for her memory. The pod begins to move away, their formations shifting from the tight investigative circle they had maintained around you to the looser traveling formation they use for long-distance swimming. You watch them depart with something that might be called appreciation for their intelligence and social grace. The encounter has been conducted according to the ancient protocols of the sea, with respect shown on both sides and no unnecessary aggression or fear. This is how the ocean's apex predators interact when they meet in the vast blue wilderness, with caution, curiosity, and mutual respect. The dolphins disappear into the blue distance, their echolocation calls fading to whispers and then to silence. Behind them, they leave only a trail of silvery bubbles that catch the filtered sunlight and create brief, dancing constellations in the water column. These bubbles, formed by the turbulence of their passage, will linger for several minutes before finally dissolving back into the sea. The encounter has been a reminder of the ocean's incredible diversity and the complex social dynamics that govern life in the marine environment. You are not alone in these waters. You share them with countless other intelligent, adapted creatures, each following their own ancient patterns of survival and social interaction. As you resume your steady course through the open water, the memory of the dolphin's visit adds another layer to your understanding of the sea around you. The ocean is not just a hunting ground or a highway for migration. It is a vast, interconnected community of life, where every creature, from the smallest plankton to the largest whale, plays a role in the complex web of relationships that has existed for millions of years. Your pulse remains slow and steady, your movements efficient and purposeful. The encounter with the dolphins has been interesting, but it has not changed your fundamental mission. You are a creature of the deep, following the ancient rhythms of the sea, and the deep is calling you onward into the endless blue. Thermocline Highway. As you descend deeper into the water column, your body encounters an invisible barrier that marks one of the ocean's most important features, the thermocline. This boundary between warm surface water and the cooler depths below creates a sensation like swimming through liquid glass, the temperature differential so sharp that it feels almost solid against your skin. The transition is startling, even to your cold-adapted physiology. The water temperature drops by 10 degrees Fahrenheit in the span of just a few feet, creating a thermal shock that would be debilitating to warm-blooded creatures. But your body is designed for exactly this kind of environment, your internal heat exchange system already adjusting to maintain your core temperature above that of the surrounding water. Your rete mirabile, the complex network of blood vessels that acts as your biological heat exchanger, immediately responds to the temperature change. Warm arterial blood flowing from your heart passes close to cool venous blood returning from your extremities, transferring heat and maintaining the temperature differential that keeps your muscles functional in the cold depths. This system, refined over millions of years of evolution, allows you to operate efficiently in waters that would paralyze most other fish. The thermocline represents more than just a temperature boundary. It is a highway through the ocean, a layer of water with specific density and flow characteristics that you can use to your advantage. The cooler, denser water below provides better lift for your massive body, reducing the energy cost of swimming by helping to support your weight. Your liver, heavy with oils, adjusts its density to maintain perfect neutral buoyancy in this new environment. As you settle into the thermocline layer, you become part of a vast oceanic conveyor belt that circles the globe. This band of water, with its distinctive temperature and salinity characteristics, connects feeding grounds thousands of miles apart. Great whites from California to South Africa use these thermal highways to navigate across ocean basins, following invisible roads that are as real and reliable as any human highway system. The enhanced efficiency of thermocline swimming allows you to maintain your cruising speed while expending significantly less energy. Your tail beats with the same steady rhythm, but each stroke propels you further through the dense, supportive water. This is endurance swimming at its finest, the kind of efficient, long-distance travel that allows sharks to cross entire oceans without exhausting their energy reserves. The water around you begins to shimmer with an ethereal light that few surface dwellers ever witness. Bioluminescent plankton, disturbed by your passage, respond with flashes of blue-green light that create a living constellation in the water column. These microscopic organisms, each one a tiny biological light bulb, turn your swimming into a display of underwater fireworks. The bioluminescence serves multiple purposes in the deep ocean ecosystem. For the plankton, it is a defense mechanism, creating sudden flashes of light that can startle or confuse predators. For other creatures, it provides a form of communication, allowing species to find mates or coordinate group behaviors in the darkness of the deep. For you, it is simply a beautiful reminder of the ocean's incredible diversity and the remarkable adaptations that allow life to flourish in even the most challenging environments. Each movement of your body creates swirling patterns of light as thousands of tiny organisms respond to the pressure waves generated by your passage. Your pectoral fins leave trails of glowing turbulence, while your tail creates spiraling vortices of illumination that persist for several seconds before fading back to darkness. The effect is hypnotic, like swimming through liquid starlight. The thermocline layer also concentrates many of the ocean's nutrients, creating a rich feeding ground for the small creatures that form the base of the marine food web. Copepods, krill, and other zooplankton gather here in dense clouds, their collective biomass supporting everything from small fish to great whales. While these tiny organisms are too small to interest you directly, their presence attracts the larger prey species that make up your diet. Schools of lanternfish begin to appear in the distance, their own bioluminescent displays, creating moving patches of light in the blue-black water. These small, deep-water fish are perfectly adapted to life in the thermocline, using their light-producing organs to communicate with each other and coordinate their movements. They represent one of the ocean's most abundant fish species, though they remain largely unknown to surface dwellers. The acoustic properties of the thermocline create their own unique environment. Sound waves behave differently in this layer, with some frequencies being channeled along the thermal boundary, while others are reflected or absorbed. The result is a complex acoustic landscape where distant sounds can carry for thousands of miles, while nearby noises might be muffled or distorted. Your lateral line system responds to these acoustic changes, detecting the subtle pressure variations that indicate the presence of other large creatures moving through the thermocline. Somewhere in the distance, a whale's song echoes through the thermal layer, its low-frequency calls traveling along the boundary like sound waves in a waveguide. The song is hauntingly beautiful, a reminder of the ocean's vastness and the incredible distances that separate its inhabitants. The thermocline also serves as a refuge from the harsh conditions of both the surface and the deep ocean. Above, the water is warmer but more turbulent, subject to the storms and weather patterns that affect the surface. Below, the water is calmer but colder, requiring more energy to maintain body temperature. Here, in the middle layer, you find the perfect balance of temperature, pressure, and energy efficiency. As you continue your cruise through this thermal highway, your body begins to relax into the rhythm of long-distance swimming. Your heart rate slows to match the efficient pace of thermocline travel. Your breathing becomes deeper and more regular, and your muscles settle into the steady, sustainable contractions that will carry you across thousands of miles of ocean. The bioluminescent display around you continues to evolve, with different species of plankton responding to your presence in their own unique ways. Some create brief, intense flashes of light, while others produce longer, more sustained glows. The overall effect is like swimming through a living aurora, a constantly changing display of biological light that turns the deep ocean into a wonderland of natural illumination. This is where you belong, not in the chaotic surface waters or the energy-demanding depths, but in the comfortable middle layer where temperature, pressure, and food availability combine to create the perfect environment for a great white shark. The thermocline highway stretches ahead for thousands of miles, carrying you toward distant feeding grounds and new adventures in the endless blue ocean. Your passage through this thermal layer is both a journey and a meditation, a reminder of the ocean's incredible complexity and your own perfect adaptation to its challenges. The deep calls to you, and you answer with the steady rhythm of your tail, following the invisible roads that connect all the world's oceans into one vast, interconnected system. Coastal encounter humans. The subtle change in the ocean's chemistry reaches your senses long before any visual cues appear. The water carries new scents, traces of sunscreen, boat fuel, and the complex chemical signatures of human activity. Your path through the open ocean has brought you closer to one of the world's coastlines, where the deep blue wilderness meets the shallow world of human habitation. The seafloor rises gradually beneath you, the abyssal depths giving way to the continental shelf. The water becomes slightly warmer, its color shifting from the deep indigo of the open ocean to the lighter blue-green of coastal waters. Schools of fish become more numerous, drawn by the nutrients that flow from the land into the sea. This is the edge of two worlds, the vast ocean wilderness and the human-dominated coastal zone. Your lateral line system begins to detect new vibrations in the water, the rhythmic thrumming of boat engines, the splash of human swimmers, and the metallic clanging of diving equipment. These sounds are alien to the natural ocean environment, but they have become increasingly common as human activity expands into marine habitats around the world. A diving boat appears on the surface ahead, its hull creating a distinctive shadow against the bright ceiling of the sea. The vessel moves slowly, its engines producing the steady, low-frequency vibrations that characterize human watercraft. From below, you can see the dark forms of divers preparing their equipment, their movements clumsy compared to the fluid grace of natural marine life. The scent of human activity grows stronger as you approach, not just the mechanical odors of boats and equipment, but the biological signatures of the humans themselves. Their warm-blooded metabolism creates a distinctive chemical profile that your sensitive olfactory system can detect from considerable distances. Unlike the familiar scents of seals and other marine mammals, human odor speaks of a terrestrial origin, of creatures adapted to life on land rather than in the sea. A group of cage divers enters the water, their movements creating splashes and bubbles that disturb the natural calm of the ocean surface. The metal cage they lower into the water creates electrical interference, its steel construction generating magnetic fields that your electroreceptors detect as unnatural disturbances in the ocean's electrical environment. Your approach is neither aggressive nor particularly interested. These strange, air-breathing visitors represent neither threat nor opportunity. They are simply curiosities in your domain, as foreign to the ocean environment as you would be in their terrestrial world. Their presence generates excitement among the dive boat crew, but for you, they are merely another species of marine life to be investigated and then ignored. The humans in the cage respond to your presence with a mixture of fear and fascination that you can sense through their rapid heartbeats and accelerated breathing. Their bioelectric signatures spike with adrenaline, their bodies preparing for fight or flight, even though they are safely enclosed in their metal protection. This nervous energy creates a constant electrical buzz that your ampulle of Lorenzini read as clearly as any fish's heartbeat. You circle the cage at a respectful distance, your movements calm and purposeful. The human's expectations, shaped by decades of sensationalized media, anticipate aggressive behavior that simply doesn't match your natural response to non-prey species. Your investigation is thorough but brief, a few passes to assess the situation, and then a gradual loss of interest as you determine that these visitors pose no threat and offer no opportunities. The reality of shark-human interactions bears little resemblance to the violent encounters portrayed in popular culture. The vast majority of such meetings end exactly as this one does, with the shark investigating briefly and then moving on to more pressing matters. Your energy is too precious to waste on prolonged interactions with creatures that are neither food nor competitors. The divers' cameras flash continuously, their artificial light creating brief, intense illuminations that have no parallel in the natural ocean environment. These flashes are startling but not threatening, simply another reminder of the alien nature of human technology. Your eyes, adapted to the subtle gradations of underwater light, find the sudden bursts of artificial illumination more confusing than frightening. As you move away from the diving operation, the sounds of human activity begin to fade, replaced by the natural rhythms of the coastal ocean. The boat's engines grow distant, the divers' bubbles disperse, and the artificial electrical interference of their equipment diminishes. The ocean gradually returns to its natural state, as if the brief human intrusion had been nothing more than a momentary disturbance in the eternal flow of the sea. The encounter serves as a reminder of the changing nature of the ocean environment. Human activity has become increasingly common in marine habitats, bringing with it new sounds, smells, and disturbances that did not exist in the evolutionary past that shaped your species. Yet your response remains fundamentally unchanged: investigation, assessment, and then a return to the more pressing matters of survival and migration. The coastal waters reveal their own unique character as you continue your journey. The seafloor here is covered with different sediments than the deep ocean, creating its own electrical signature that your ampullae can read and interpret. Rock formations, coral reefs, and underwater canyons create a complex three-dimensional landscape that offers both opportunities and challenges for a large predator. Schools of fish are more abundant in these nutrient-rich waters, their movements creating complex patterns of electrical activity that your senses monitor continuously. Some species are familiar from your past encounters with coastal environments, while others are regional specialties that exist nowhere else in the world. The diversity of life in these transition zones between land and sea is extraordinary, supporting ecosystems that rival tropical rainforests in their complexity. The water temperature fluctuates more dramatically here than in the open ocean, influenced by tidal flows, freshwater runoff, and the heating and cooling effects of the nearby landmass. Your body adjusts automatically to these variations, your internal thermoregulation system maintaining optimal operating temperature, regardless of external conditions. A distant surf line marks the boundary between the ocean and the land, the sound of waves breaking against the shore creating a constant background rhythm that has persisted for millions of years. This is the edge of your world. Beyond those breakers lies the terrestrial realm that humans call home, as alien to you as the deepest ocean trenches are to them. The myths and legends surrounding your kind are largely born from encounters in waters like these, where the human and marine worlds overlap. Fear of sharks has deep roots in human culture, fed by misunderstanding and sensationalized media portrayals that bear little resemblance to reality. The truth is far more prosaic. You are a predator perfectly adapted to your environment, but not the mindless killing machine of popular imagination. The statistical reality of shark attacks reveals the true nature of these encounters. More people are struck by lightning each year than are bitten by sharks. Yet the fear of sharks persists in the human psyche with an intensity that far exceeds the actual risk. This disconnect between perception and reality has had profound consequences for shark conservation, with many species facing extinction due to human persecution based on unfounded fears. As you glide through the coastal waters, your presence goes largely unnoticed by the human inhabitants of the nearby shore. Beachgoers splash in the surf, unaware that one of the ocean's apex predators is passing just beyond the breaker line. This is the normal state of affairs, the ocean and its inhabitants continuing their ancient patterns, while human activity proceeds in blissful ignorance of the complex ecosystem that exists just beneath the surface. The sandy bottom beneath you creates its own unique environment, with buried creatures generating subtle electrical fields that your ampullae can detect even when the animals themselves are invisible. Rays and flounders hide in the sand, their flattened bodies perfectly camouflaged against the seafloor. Crabs and other invertebrates scuttle across the bottom, their movements creating small pressure waves that your lateral line system reads like a book. The encounter with human activity has been brief but instructive, a reminder of the changing nature of the ocean environment and your own place within it. You are a creature of the deep, perfectly adapted to life in the marine realm, but increasingly forced to share your habitat with visitors from the terrestrial world. The ocean remains your domain, but it is no longer the undisturbed wilderness that your ancestors knew. The coastal waters begin to deepen again as you move away from the continental shelf, the seafloor dropping away into the familiar blue depths of the open ocean. The sounds of human activity fade completely, replaced by the natural symphony of the sea. The songs of whales, the whisper of currents, and the distant rumble of deep ocean waves. Your journey continues, carrying you away from the intersection of human and marine worlds and back into the vast wilderness of the open sea. The coastal encounter has been a reminder of the complexity of the modern ocean, but it has not changed your fundamental mission. You are following the ancient pathways of your species, driven by instincts that are far older than human civilization. The sun filters down through the water column, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow that dance across the sandy bottom. In the distance, the deep blue of the open ocean beckons, promising a return to the vast wilderness that has been your kind's domain for millions of years. The human world recedes behind you, leaving only the eternal rhythm of the sea and the endless journey that defines your existence. Sunlit, surface soak. The thermocline's cool embrace has served you well for hours of efficient cruising. But now your body sends subtle signals that it's time to seek the warmth of the surface. Your internal thermostat, more sophisticated than any human technology, detects the gradual cooling of your core temperature and triggers the instinct to rise toward the sun-warmed waters above. The ascent is gradual and purposeful, your body automatically adjusting to the decreasing pressure and changing light conditions. As you rise through the water column, the deep blue-black of the thermocline gives way to lighter shades of blue and green, the colors shifting as different wavelengths of sunlight penetrate the water. The transition is like swimming from night into day, the ocean's layers revealing themselves in a spectrum of azure hues. Your gills begin to taste the subtle chemical differences that mark the boundary between water masses. The surface layer carries different dissolved gases, different mineral concentrations, and different biological signatures than the deeper waters. This chemical gradient provides yet another navigation aid, helping you maintain your orientation in the three-dimensional ocean environment. The pressure against your body decreases noticeably as you rise, your swim bladder adjusting automatically to maintain neutral buoyancy. Unlike deep-sea fish, which can be damaged by rapid pressure changes, your body is designed to handle the full range of oceanic depths. Your cartilaginous skeleton flexes and adapts, while your internal organs adjust their volume and position to accommodate the changing pressure differential. The first hint of surface turbulence reaches your lateral line system as gentle pressure waves that speak of wind and weather above. The ocean surface is never truly still, constantly responding to atmospheric conditions that create patterns of waves, swells, and currents. Your brain processes these signals, building a picture of the surface conditions long before your eyes can see them. As you approach the final 20 feet of water, the sun's warmth becomes tangible against your skin. The surface layer, heated by solar radiation, feels like a warm bath compared to the cool depths below. Your body responds immediately, your metabolic rate increasing slightly, as the warmer water allows your internal systems to operate more efficiently. Your dorsal fin breaks the surface with barely a ripple, cutting through the mirror-flat water like a knife through silk. The sensation is extraordinary. Half of your body immersed in the liquid medium that is your home, while your fin experiences the alien world of air and atmosphere above. The contrast is sharp and immediate, the dry air feeling strange against the wet surface of your fin. The sun's rays, no longer filtered through layers of water, strike your skin with an intensity that would be overwhelming to deep-sea creatures. But your hide is designed for this dual existence, capable of handling both the crushing pressures of the deep and the harsh radiation of the surface. The dark pigmentation on your upper body absorbs the solar energy, converting it to the heat that will help maintain your body temperature during future deep-water excursions. Floating at the surface, you enter a state of what scientists call rafting, a behavior common among many shark species where they remain motionless at the surface, absorbing solar energy like biological solar panels. Your powerful tail hangs vertically in the water column, occasionally twitching to maintain your position, while your body lies horizontal at the surface, maximizing your exposure to the warming rays. The sensation of sunlight on your skin triggers complex biochemical processes that are essential to your health and survival. Like many marine animals, you require vitamin D for proper calcium metabolism and bone development. While your skeleton is made of cartilage rather than bone, you still need these nutrients for various physiological processes. The sun's ultraviolet radiation interacts with compounds in your skin to produce these essential vitamins. Your rough skin, covered in tiny tooth-like scales called dermal denticles, creates a unique texture that interacts with both water and air. In the water, these scales reduce drag and turbulence, allowing you to swim with remarkable efficiency. In the air, they create a sandpaper-like surface that can actually help regulate your body temperature by affecting how heat is absorbed and radiated. The surface world above the water reveals itself in glimpses and sensations. Seabirds wheel overhead, their cries carrying across the water as they search for schools of fish near the surface. Occasionally, one will dive nearby, its body slicing through the water in a display of aerial hunting prowess. These birds are skilled fishers, capable of spotting prey from great heights and diving with remarkable accuracy. A group of pelicans passes overhead, their large wings carrying them effortlessly through the air currents. They show no fear of your presence. These experienced ocean dwellers know that a shark basking at the surface poses no threat to creatures of the air. Their flight patterns create shadows that ripple across the water, adding to the play of light and shadow that characterizes the surface environment. The gentle swell that rolls across the ocean surface creates a soothing rocking motion that helps you maintain your position while conserving energy. These long, low waves are the ocean's breathing, the surface expression of deep currents and distant weather patterns. Your body rises and falls with the rhythm of the sea, a meditation in motion that connects you to the planet's largest wilderness. The salt spray that occasionally breaks over your exposed fin carries scents from the surface world, the mineral tang of evaporated seawater, the organic richness of plankton blooms, and sometimes the distant smell of land. Your sensitive olfactory system processes these chemical messages, adding another layer of information to your understanding of the ocean environment. As you float in the warm surface waters, your body continues its essential maintenance processes. The heat from the sun helps your digestive system process the seal from your morning hunt, while the warmth keeps your muscles flexible and responsive. This surface basking is not leisure. It is a crucial part of your survival strategy, allowing you to recharge your biological systems before returning to the cooler depths. The surface layer also provides access to higher concentrations of dissolved oxygen, which your gills extract with practiced efficiency. The interaction between air and water at the surface creates turbulence that helps mix oxygen into the water column, providing a richer breathing environment than the more stagnant, deeper layers. In the distance, barely detectable even to your enhanced senses, the faint chemical signature of decay reaches your nostrils. Somewhere, perhaps miles away, a whale has died, its massive body slowly releasing nutrients back into the ocean ecosystem. The scent is too faint and distant to warrant investigation now, but your brain files the information away, a potential feeding opportunity that might be worth exploring if other food sources prove scarce. The sun's warmth soaks deep into your body, preparing you for the next phase of your journey. Soon, you will dive back into the blue depths, carrying this stored solar energy with you as you continue your endless migration through the ocean's highways. But for now, you float in perfect stillness, a creature of the deep temporarily sampling the surface world, connected to both the ocean below and the sky above. Cleaning crew. As your body absorbs the last of the surface warmth, your senses detect something that triggers an ancient behavioral response, the distinctive electrical signature of a floating debris field ahead, not the dangerous plastic waste that increasingly pollutes the ocean, but something far more natural and welcome, a large mat of drifting sargassum seaweed, kelp fragments, and other organic flotsam that has accumulated in the slow-moving currents of the open ocean. These floating oases represent some of the ocean's most important real estate, serving as traveling ecosystems that support an incredible diversity of marine life. The mat ahead stretches for several hundred yards, its golden brown fronds creating a carpet of vegetation on the ocean's surface. Beneath this canopy, an entire community of creatures has established itself, turning the drifting debris into a thriving underwater city. Your approach disturbs the surface tension around the mat, sending ripples through the floating vegetation that alert its inhabitants to your presence. But rather than fleeing in panic, many of the creatures here recognize you as an opportunity rather than a threat. This is one of the ocean's most sophisticated service industries, a collection of small fish and invertebrates that have evolved to provide cleaning services to large marine animals. The first to respond are the pilotfish, their distinctive black and white stripes making them easily recognizable as they dart out from the shelter of the floating debris. These small, fast-moving fish have developed a remarkable relationship with sharks, trading their cleaning services for protection and transportation. They approach without fear, their movements quick and precise as they begin their work. You slow your swimming to accommodate their presence, your body language signaling your acceptance of their services. The pilotfish respond by moving closer, their mouths working busily as they begin to remove the parasites and dead tissue that inevitably accumulate on any large marine animal. Their bites are gentle but persistent, creating a tickling sensation that is oddly pleasant. The cleaning process begins along your gills, where the constant flow of water creates ideal conditions for various parasites to establish themselves. Small copepods and isopods have attached themselves to your gill filaments, feeding on the mucus and dead cells that your body naturally sheds. The pilotfish work methodically, their small mouths perfectly designed for this delicate work. Soon, other members of the cleaning crew join the effort. Wrasses, with their bright colors and specialized cleaning behaviors, emerge from the floating debris to inspect your massive form. These fish are the ocean's professional cleaners, operating what amounts to underwater cleaning stations where large marine animals come to be serviced. Their presence here, so far from the coastal reefs where they typically operate, indicates the importance of these floating ecosystems. The wrasses work with remarkable precision, their movements coordinated and efficient. They target specific areas where parasites are most likely to accumulate. The spaces between your gill slits, the edges of your fins, and the sensitive areas around your eyes and nostrils. Their technique is gentle but thorough, removing not just parasites but also dead skin cells and other debris that could cause irritation or infection. The cleaning process creates a complex tactile experience that your nervous system interprets as deeply satisfying. The small fish work their way along your body, their movements creating subtle pressure waves that your lateral line system reads as a form of massage. The removal of parasites and dead tissue brings immediate relief, reducing irritation and improving your overall comfort. Your pectoral fins receive special attention from the cleaning crew, as these large mobile surfaces are particularly susceptible to parasite infestations. The fish work carefully around the sensitive edges of your fins, their movements precise and purposeful. They understand the anatomy of their clients, knowing exactly where to look for problems and how to address them without causing damage. The symbiotic relationship between sharks and their cleaning crews represents one of the ocean's most successful evolutionary partnerships. The small fish receive protection from larger predators, access to a reliable food source, and transportation to new feeding grounds. In return, they provide essential health services that help maintain the shark's condition and prevent the spread of disease and infection. As the cleaning process continues, you begin to notice other inhabitants of the floating debris field. Small crabs scuttle through the seaweed, their claws clicking as they search for food particles. Juvenile fish of various species use the mat as a nursery, their small forms darting between the fronds as they grow and develop. The entire ecosystem pulses with life, a testament to the ocean's ability to create thriving communities in even the most unlikely places. The cleaning crew's work extends beyond simple parasite removal. They also help maintain the health of your skin by removing dead and damaged tissue, preventing the formation of wounds that could become infected. Their saliva contains natural antibiotics that help protect the areas they clean, adding another layer of health benefits to their services. The process takes nearly an hour, during which time you remain relatively motionless, allowing the small fish to complete their work. This patience is not just courtesy, it is a crucial part of your survival strategy. The health benefits of regular cleaning far outweigh the temporary loss of mobility, and the energy you save by remaining still actually helps offset the time cost of the service. As the cleaning session nears its end, the fish begin to disperse, some returning to the shelter of the floating debris, while others prepare to continue their journey as members of your traveling entourage. The pilot fish, in particular, show no inclination to leave, having established themselves as permanent members of your crew. The afternoon light filtering through the floating seaweed creates a cathedral-like atmosphere, with shafts of golden sunlight illuminating the water column beneath the mat. Iridescent scales from the cleaning fish drift slowly downward, catching the light and creating brief, sparkling constellations in the water. The scene is peaceful and timeless, a reminder of the ancient partnerships that bind the ocean's creatures together. As you prepare to leave the floating oasis, your body feels renewed and refreshed. The cleaning crew has done its work well, removing the accumulated parasites and debris that were beginning to affect your comfort and health. Your skin feels smoother, your gills breathe more easily, and your overall condition has improved markedly. The floating debris field will continue its journey across the ocean, carrying its community of creatures to new encounters and new opportunities. For you, it has been a brief but essential stop, a reminder that even the ocean's apex predators depend on the services of smaller creatures for their health and survival. Your pilot fish companions settle into their familiar positions around your body, ready to continue the journey through the endless blue. Behind you, the floating mat grows smaller in the distance, its golden fronds still visible on the surface as it continues its own migration through the vast ocean wilderness. Kelp maize. The familiar scent of iodine and sea vegetation reaches your nostrils as you approach the edge of one of the ocean's most remarkable ecosystems, a towering kelp forest that rises from the seafloor like an underwater cathedral. The massive brown algae stretch upward through the water column, their golden fronds swaying gently in the current, creating columns of living architecture that dwarf even the tallest trees on land. Your body language shifts as you enter this vertical wilderness, your movements becoming more deliberate and controlled. The kelp forest demands respect. Its towering fronds and intricate structure create a three-dimensional maze that can easily entangle unwary swimmers. But you are no stranger to these underwater jungles, your species having navigated kelp forests for millions of years. The water here takes on an amber hue, filtered through countless layers of swaying vegetation that create a constantly shifting pattern of light and shadow. Shafts of golden sunlight penetrate the canopy above, creating underwater cathedrals where beams of light dance through the water column like celestial spotlights. The effect is both beautiful and disorienting, a liquid version of walking through an ancient forest. Your lateral line system works overtime in this environment, constantly processing the complex pressure waves created by the moving kelp. Each frond generates its own signature as it sways in the current, creating a symphony of motion that your senses must decode to navigate safely through the maze. The skill required to move through a kelp forest without becoming entangled is considerable, requiring split-second timing and perfect spatial awareness. The temperature in the kelp forest is noticeably cooler than the open ocean, the dense vegetation providing shade that creates a natural air conditioning system. Your body welcomes the temperature drop, your metabolism adjusting to take advantage of the cooler water. The kelp also acts as a natural filter, removing nutrients and pollutants from the water and creating an environment that is both cleaner and more oxygen-rich than the surrounding ocean. As you weave between the towering stalks, your movements create subtle disturbances in the water that ripple outward through the forest. Small fish dart between the fronds, their movements quick and nervous as they go about their daily business of feeding and avoiding predators. The kelp forest teems with life, from tiny invertebrates that cling to the fronds to larger fish that use the structure for shelter and hunting grounds. Your path through the forest is carefully chosen, following the natural channels between the larger kelp stalks, while avoiding the dense tangles of smaller fronds that could pose an entanglement risk. Your brain processes the three-dimensional structure of the forest with remarkable speed, calculating safe passage routes while maintaining your forward momentum. This is navigation at its most complex, requiring constant adjustment and split-second decision-making. The acoustic environment of the kelp forest is unique, the dense vegetation absorbing and reflecting sound waves in complex ways. The normal sounds of the ocean, the distant calls of whales, the rush of currents, the whisper of water movement, are muffled and distorted by the living architecture around you. Instead, you hear the gentle creaking of kelp stalks as they bend in the current, a sound like old ships' timbers flexing in heavy seas. Above you, barely visible through the canopy, sea otters work the surface of the kelp forest, their sleek forms diving and surfacing as they search for sea urchins and other prey. The sound of their activities, the crack of shells being broken, the splash of their dives, the chatter of their social interactions, filters down through the water column, adding another layer to the forest's acoustic landscape. The otters represent one of the kelp forest's most important inhabitants, their predation on sea urchins helping to maintain the delicate balance that keeps the forest healthy. Without the otters' constant pressure on urchin populations, these spiny grazers would quickly strip the kelp bare, destroying the entire ecosystem. It is a reminder of the complex relationships that bind marine ecosystems together, where the actions of one species can have profound effects on an entire environment. Your presence in the kelp forest does not go unnoticed. Harbor seals peer at you from between the fronds, their large eyes tracking your movements with the wariness of prey animals. They are perfectly adapted to this environment, their streamlined bodies allowing them to dart between the kelp stalks with remarkable agility. For them, the forest provides both shelter and hunting grounds, a three-dimensional habitat that offers protection from larger predators, like you. The seal's behavior is a study in calculated risk assessment. They maintain a safe distance from your massive form, ready to flee deeper into the forest if you show any signs of aggressive intent. But they also recognize that you are moving through their territory with no apparent hunting motivation, your body language suggesting passage rather than predation. This delicate dance of predator and prey plays out constantly in the kelp forest, a complex behavioral ecosystem that has evolved over millions of years. Schools of rockfish hover in the middle depths of the forest, their mottled coloration providing perfect camouflage against the kelp fronds. These fish are masters of their environment, using the forest's structure to their advantage as they hunt for smaller prey and avoid larger predators. Their movements are synchronized and purposeful, a coordinated dance that speaks of deep familiarity with their three-dimensional habitat. The seafloor beneath the kelp forest is a landscape of rocky reefs and sandy channels, carpeted with the detritus that constantly falls from the living canopy above. Dead kelp fronds, broken by storms or consumed by grazers, drift downward to form a rich organic layer that supports an entirely different community of bottom-dwelling creatures. Sea stars, anemones, and countless invertebrates work to break down this organic matter, recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. Your passage through the forest creates a gentle current that stirs the seafloor sediments, revealing the incredible diversity of life that exists in this underwater realm. Crabs scuttle between the rocks, their claws clicking as they search for food. Flatfish lie partially buried in the sand, their camouflaged bodies nearly invisible until they move. The entire seafloor pulses with hidden life, a testament to the productivity of the kelp forest ecosystem. As you navigate deeper into the forest, the canopy above becomes denser, filtering out more of the sunlight and creating an increasingly dim environment. Your eyes adjust automatically to the reduced light levels, your vision optimizing for the blue-green spectrum that penetrates deepest into the water. The forest takes on an otherworldly quality, like swimming through a living cathedral where the architecture itself is alive and constantly changing. The dissolved oxygen levels in the kelp forest are significantly higher than in the open ocean, a result of the photosynthetic activity of the massive algae. Your gills work more efficiently in this oxygen-rich environment, extracting more life-giving gas from each breath of water. The sensation is invigorating, like breathing mountain air after spending time in a polluted city. The kelp forest also serves as a natural laboratory for studying the ocean's response to climate change. Rising water temperatures, changing ocean chemistry, and shifting current patterns all affect the health and distribution of kelp forests around the world. These underwater jungles are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth, but they are also among the most vulnerable to environmental change. Your journey through the kelp maze is both challenging and rewarding, a reminder of the ocean's incredible diversity and the complex three-dimensional habitats that exist beneath the waves. The forest's towering architecture creates a sense of scale and grandeur that few marine environments can match, while its incredible productivity supports an abundance of life that rivals any terrestrial ecosystem. As you prepare to leave the kelp forest and return to the open ocean, you carry with you the memory of this underwater cathedral, a place where life reaches toward the light in towering columns of living architecture, where countless species find shelter and sustenance, and where the ocean's creative power is displayed in all its magnificent complexity. The edge of the forest approaches, marked by a gradual thinning of the kelp canopy and an increase in the blue light that signals the return to open water. Your movements become more fluid as you prepare to leave the maze behind, your body anticipating the freedom of the open ocean, while your mind retains the sensory memory of navigating through one of the sea's most remarkable ecosystems. Feeding frenzy on Sardine Run, the water around you begins to vibrate with an energy that speaks of something extraordinary approaching, a phenomenon that occurs only at certain times of year in specific locations around the world. Your senses, finely tuned to detect the slightest disturbance in the ocean's rhythm, pick up the unmistakable signs of a sardine run, one of nature's most spectacular displays of marine life in motion. The first indication comes through your lateral line system, which detects the pressure waves created by millions of small fish moving in coordinated formation. The vibrations are unlike anything else in the ocean, not the chaotic splash of surface activity, but the deep, rhythmic pulse of countless bodies moving as one through the water column. This is the heartbeat of the ocean itself, amplified and made manifest in the coordinated movement of an entire species. Your electroreceptors begin to register the collective bioelectric field created by the massive school of sardines. Millions of tiny hearts beating in near synchronization create an electrical phenomenon that can be detected from miles away. The combined neural activity of the school generates a kind of biological radar signature that announces the sardine's presence to every predator in the area. The water takes on a silvery quality as the leading edge of the sardine run comes into view. The school stretches for hundreds of yards in every direction, a living river of fish that moves through the ocean with the power and inevitability of a natural force. Individual sardines are tiny, but collectively, they represent millions of pounds of protein moving through the water, a feast that attracts predators from across the ocean. You are not alone in recognizing this opportunity. Dolphins begin to appear from multiple directions, their echolocation calls creating a complex acoustic environment as they communicate and coordinate their hunting strategies. These marine mammals are masters of cooperative hunting, capable of working together to herd and concentrate the sardine school into dense, manageable packets. The dolphin's hunting technique is both sophisticated and efficient. They work in teams, circling the outer edges of the sardine school and using their bodies and echolocation to create walls of sound and movement that compress the fish into tight bait balls. The sardines, responding to the predation pressure, instinctively cluster together for protection, creating dense spheres of silver fish that spin and pulse in the water column. Above the surface, seabirds begin to gather in numbers that defy imagination. Gannets, boobies, and other diving birds arrive from all directions, their keen eyesight having detected the sardine run from miles away. They circle overhead like a living storm cloud, their cries creating a cacophony that can be heard both above and below the water. When they begin to dive, their impact on the water creates a sound like machine gun fire, a staccato rhythm that adds to the chaos of the feeding event. The bird's diving technique is remarkable to observe from below. They fold their wings and plunge into the water with incredible accuracy, their streamlined bodies cutting through the surface like living arrows. The underwater view of their hunting is even more impressive. Their bodies rocket downward, surrounded by trails of bubbles, their momentum carrying them deep into the sardine school, where they can grab fish before rocketing back to the surface. Other sharks begin to arrive, drawn by the same sensory cues that brought you here. Their approach is more measured than the frantic activity of the dolphins and birds, but no less purposeful. The ocean's apex predators recognize the rarity of such feeding opportunities and are willing to travel great distances to participate in the feast. Your own approach to the sardine run is calculated and efficient. Unlike the smaller predators who must work frantically to capture individual fish, your size and power allow you to take a different approach. You position yourself near one of the dense bait balls that the dolphins have created, your massive jaws opening slightly in preparation for what will be a devastating feeding strike. The sensation of swimming through the sardine school is unlike anything else in the ocean. Thousands of small fish part before your approach, their silver bodies creating a living tunnel through which you pass. The water becomes thick with scales and the chemical signatures of stressed fish, creating a sensory environment that is both overwhelming and exhilarating. Your feeding technique during the sardine run is brutally efficient. Rather than targeting individual fish, you open your massive jaws and swim directly through the dense concentrations of sardines, your throat expanding to accommodate hundreds of fish at once. The sensation is extraordinary. Thousands of small bodies flowing across your tongue and down your throat, providing more nutrition in a single pass than you might normally consume in weeks. The scales of the sardines create a shimmering cloud in the water around you, their iridescent surfaces catching and reflecting the filtered sunlight to create an underwater snowstorm of silver and gold. The visual effect is mesmerizing, but you are focused on the feeding opportunity rather than the spectacle. This is efficiency feeding at its finest, taking advantage of a rare concentration of prey to maximize your energy intake. Between your feeding passes, you observe the coordinated chaos of the entire feeding event. The dolphins work with remarkable precision, their hunting strategies refined over millions of years of evolution. The seabirds continue their aerial bombardment, their diving creating a constant rain of bubbles and disturbed water. Other sharks move through the periphery of the action, each following their own feeding strategy. The sardine run represents one of the ocean's most dramatic examples of the complex relationships between predator and prey. The sardine's strategy of schooling for protection works well against individual predators, but it also creates opportunities for coordinated predation that can be devastating to the school. The run is both a survival strategy and a feeding bonanza, depending on which side of the equation you occupy. Your participation in the feeding event is measured and strategic. While the smaller predators must work frantically to capture as many fish as possible, your size allows you to be more selective. A few well-timed passes through the densest concentrations of sardines provide you with enough nutrition to last for weeks, making this brief feeding event a crucial component of your survival strategy. The water around the feeding event becomes increasingly turbid as the action continues, filled with scales, blood, and the detritus of intensive predation. The chemical signatures in the water create a complex olfactory environment that tells the story of the feeding event in molecular detail. Your sensitive nose reads these chemical messages like a book, providing information about the health and stress levels of the prey, the presence of other predators, and the overall dynamics of the feeding event. As the sardine run begins to disperse, the various predators gradually move away from the feeding area, their immediate nutritional needs satisfied. The dolphins regroup and move on to other hunting opportunities, while the seabirds scatter across the ocean surface in search of new concentrations of prey. The ocean slowly returns to its normal state, but the memory of the feeding event remains encoded in the water's chemical signature. Your own departure from the sardine run is gradual and purposeful. Your stomach now heavy with fish, you begin to sink toward deeper water, where the process of digestion can proceed without interference. The feeding event has been a remarkable success, providing you with the energy reserves needed for the next phase of your oceanic journey. The sardine run represents one of the ocean's most spectacular displays of natural abundance and the complex predator-prey relationships that govern marine ecosystems. For you, it has been a crucial feeding opportunity that will sustain you through thousands of miles of ocean travel. The memory of swimming through rivers of silver fish will remain with you long after the scales have settled and the ocean has returned to its normal rhythm. Energy conservation. With your stomach now distended with the bounty of the sardine run, your body automatically shifts into a different mode of operation, one focused entirely on energy conservation and efficient digestion. The massive meal you have just consumed represents weeks of potential energy, but only if your body can process it efficiently while minimizing the energy costs of swimming and basic metabolism. Your tail beat gradually slows to match the rhythm of long-distance cruising, each stroke calculated to maintain forward momentum while expending the minimum amount of energy possible. This is not the lazy swimming of a satiated predator, but the highly efficient locomotion of a perfectly adapted ocean traveler. Every aspect of your movement is optimized for maximum distance with minimum effort. The ocean current becomes your ally in this phase of energy conservation. Your lateral line system detects the subtle pressure differences that indicate the presence of a following current, a river of water moving in the same direction as your intended path. You adjust your position slightly, allowing the current to carry you forward while your tail provides only the minimal propulsion needed to maintain your position within the flow. This technique of current riding is one of the most sophisticated aspects of shark navigation and energy management. By positioning yourself within favorable currents, you can travel hundreds of miles while expending only a fraction of the energy that would be required for active swimming. Your body becomes a living sailboat, using the ocean's own movement to carry you toward your destination. Your heart rate drops to match the relaxed pace of current-assisted swimming, the powerful organ that drives your circulation settling into a rhythm that can be maintained for days or even weeks. Each beat is measured and efficient, pumping just enough blood to supply your tissues with oxygen while avoiding the energy waste of unnecessary cardiac activity. This is metabolic efficiency at its finest, honed by millions of years of evolution. The process of digestion begins in earnest as your body focuses its energy on breaking down the sardines that fill your stomach. Your digestive system, evolved for processing large, infrequent meals, works with remarkable efficiency to extract every possible calorie from your catch. The spiral valve in your intestine maximizes the surface area for nutrient absorption, ensuring that nothing of value is wasted. Your liver, already the largest organ in your body, begins to swell as it processes the fats and proteins from your meal. This remarkable organ serves multiple functions. It acts as a processing plant for nutrients, a storage facility for energy reserves, and a ballast tank that helps control your buoyancy. As it fills with oils extracted from the sardines, it also helps maintain your perfect balance in the water column. The internal heat generated by digestion warms your body core, creating a comfortable temperature differential that your heat exchange system maintains and circulates throughout your tissues. This biological warmth is crucial for maintaining muscle function and metabolic efficiency, allowing you to remain active even in the cooler waters of the deep ocean. Your swimming pattern settles into a hypnotic rhythm that matches the slow pulse of the ocean swells. Your body rises and falls with the long, low waves that march across the sea, using the ocean's own energy to assist your movement. This is swimming as meditation, a repetitive motion that requires no conscious thought while carrying you steadily toward your destination. The evening light begins to fade as the sun approaches the horizon, and with it comes one of the ocean's most spectacular daily displays. As darkness approaches, the water around you begins to sparkle with the bioluminescence of countless microscopic organisms. These tiny creatures respond to the pressure waves created by your passage, creating trails of blue-green light that follow your movement through the water. The bioluminescent display is particularly intense during this twilight period, when the daily vertical migration of plankton brings these light-producing organisms closer to the surface. Your movements through the water create swirling galaxies of living light, turning your progress into a display of natural fireworks that would be breathtaking if anyone were there to witness it. Your breathing becomes deeper and more regular as your body settles into the rhythm of efficient cruising. The gills work with mechanical precision, extracting oxygen from the water with minimal effort while expelling carbon dioxide and other waste products. This is respiratory efficiency at its peak, allowing you to maintain activity levels while conserving energy for the essential processes of digestion and growth. The sensory input from your environment takes on a different quality during this energy conservation phase. While your senses remain alert for potential threats or opportunities, they also filter out unnecessary information, focusing only on the essential data needed for navigation and survival. This selective attention helps reduce the energy costs of neural processing while maintaining your awareness of the surrounding environment. Your lateral line system continues to monitor the water around you, but with a more relaxed sensitivity that focuses on the broad patterns of current and pressure rather than the minute details of potential prey movements. The ocean's background noise, the distant calls of whales, the whisper of currents, the subtle pressure changes of deep water movement, becomes a soothing soundtrack to your journey. The stars begin to appear in the darkening sky above, their light filtering down through the water column to create a dim, mystical illumination. Your eyes adjust automatically to the reduced light levels, your vision optimizing for the blue-green wavelengths that penetrate deepest into the water. The transition from day to night is gradual and peaceful, marking another cycle in the eternal rhythm of ocean life. Your movement through the water becomes almost effortless as you settle into the perfect cruising speed for your current metabolic state. This is not the explosive burst of hunting activity, but the sustainable pace of long-distance migration. Your body has found its natural rhythm, the speed at which energy expenditure is minimized while forward progress is maximized. The process of energy conservation during post-feeding periods is one of the most important aspects of shark biology. By reducing activity levels and focusing on efficient digestion, you can extract maximum benefit from each feeding opportunity, while maintaining the energy reserves needed for the next phase of your journey. This is survival strategy at its most sophisticated, balancing the competing demands of nutrition, movement, and energy storage. As the night deepens and the bioluminescent plankton create an increasingly spectacular light show around you, your body continues its quiet work of processing the sardine feast. The ocean carries you forward in its gentle embrace, your perfectly streamlined form cutting through the water with minimal disturbance, following the ancient pathways that have guided your species across the world's oceans for millions of years. The rhythm of your tail beat, the pulse of your gills, and the slow processing of your digestive system all synchronize into a harmony of biological efficiency. You are not just swimming through the ocean, you are part of it, connected to its currents and rhythms, carried forward by forces far larger than yourself toward whatever challenges and opportunities await in the vast blue wilderness ahead. Midday migration spur. The ocean around you begins to tell a different story as the sun reaches its zenith in the sky above. Subtle changes in the water's chemistry, temperature, and current patterns signal the approach of one of nature's most profound transformations, the seasonal shift that triggers the great migrations of marine life across the world's oceans. Your body, finely tuned to these environmental cues, begins to respond to signals that have guided your species for millions of years. The first indication comes through your lateral line system, which detects a gradual change in the ocean's pressure patterns. Deep currents, driven by seasonal temperature differences and the Earth's rotation, begin to shift their flow patterns in response to the changing season. These massive rivers of water, invisible to surface observers, carry with them the chemical signatures of distant polar regions and tropical seas. Your internal compass, that remarkable biological GPS system that has guided you across thousands of miles of open ocean, begins to register a subtle but unmistakable pull toward the southwest. The Earth's magnetic field, which serves as your primary navigation reference, interacts with seasonal changes in ocean temperature and salinity to create a complex three-dimensional map that your brain interprets as clearly as any human reads street signs. The water temperature begins to drop almost imperceptibly as cooler currents from the north begin to dominate the thermal structure of the ocean around you. Your body's sophisticated thermoregulation system responds automatically, adjusting your metabolism and circulation to maintain optimal operating temperature. This thermal shift is not just a change in environmental conditions. It is a signal that triggers one of the most remarkable journeys in the animal kingdom. Somewhere deep in your genetic memory, encoded in DNA sequences that have remained unchanged for millions of years, the command to migrate begins to assert itself. This is not a conscious decision but an irresistible biological imperative that has driven your ancestors across ocean basins since long before the continents assumed their current positions. The urge to travel grows stronger with each passing hour, building to a crescendo that will soon dominate your behavior. Your swimming pattern begins to change as the migratory instinct takes hold. The lazy, energy-conserving cruise that has characterized your movement for the past several days gives way to a more purposeful stroke pattern. Your tail beat increases in frequency and power, driving you forward with the determination of a creature answering an ancient call. This is the beginning of a journey that may span thousands of miles and take several months to complete. The ocean around you responds to the seasonal changes with its own transformation. Massive oceanic gyres, circular current systems that can span entire ocean basins, begin to shift their patterns in response to changing wind patterns and temperature gradients. These gyres serve as the highways of the ocean, carrying nutrients, heat, and marine life around the globe in predictable patterns that have remained stable for millennia. Your path begins to align with one of these major current systems, your internal navigation system guiding you toward the most efficient route for your intended destination. The gyre will carry you along its circular path, providing both transportation and access to the feeding grounds that dot its route, like stops on a transcontinental railroad. This is migration at its most sophisticated, using the Earth's own forces to minimize the energy cost of travel. The water around you becomes increasingly rich, with drifting life as you enter the gyre's influence. Sargassum seaweed, carried by the circular current, creates floating islands of golden brown vegetation that support entire ecosystems. Jellyfish of various species pulse through the water column, their translucent bodies creating living sculptures that drift with the current. The diversity of life in these current systems is extraordinary, supporting everything from microscopic plankton to the largest whales. Your senses begin to detect the presence of other migrating creatures, their bioelectric signatures creating a complex pattern of life in motion. Schools of tuna, driven by the same seasonal instincts that guide your movement, streak through the water with their characteristic high-speed swimming style. Their presence indicates that you are not alone in responding to the seasonal call. The entire ocean ecosystem is beginning to move in response to the changing conditions. The colors of the water around you shift as you enter different water masses, each with its own unique chemical signature and optical properties. The deep indigo of the open ocean gives way to the lighter blue of Gaia-influenced waters, then to the green-tinged hues of nutrient-rich upwelling zones. These color changes are not merely aesthetic, they represent fundamental differences in the water's chemistry and biological productivity. Your electroreceptors begin to detect the electrical activity of large schools of fish moving in the same direction as your migration route. These fish, responding to the same seasonal cues that drive your movement, create massive bioelectric fields that can be detected from miles away. The synchronized swimming of millions of fish generates electrical patterns that serve as beacons for larger predators, creating feeding opportunities along the migration route. The sea floor far below begins to change character as you follow the gyre's path across different oceanic provinces. Underwater mountain ranges, seamounts, and abyssal plains each create their own unique magnetic signatures that your internal compass reads and interprets. This three-dimensional map of the ocean floor provides crucial navigation information, helping you maintain your course even when other environmental cues are unclear. Your body begins to undergo subtle physiological changes in response to the migration stimulus. Your liver, already swollen with the oils from your recent feeding, continues to expand as your body prepares for the energy demands of long-distance travel. This remarkable organ will serve as your fuel tank during the journey, providing the energy needed to cross vast expanses of open ocean. The pressure waves created by your increasingly powerful swimming begin to attract the attention of other marine life. Pilot fish, always alert for opportunities to join successful predators, begin to gather around your massive form. These small companions will accompany you on your journey, providing cleaning services in exchange for protection and transportation to new feeding grounds. Your breathing pattern adjusts to match the increased energy demands of migration swimming. Your gills work more efficiently, extracting maximum oxygen from the water while expelling carbon dioxide and other metabolic waste products. This respiratory optimization allows you to maintain higher activity levels while conserving energy for the long journey ahead. The sun's position in the sky provides additional navigation information, its angle and intensity confirming the direction indicated by your magnetic compass. Your eyes, adapted to read the subtle polarization patterns in underwater light, use this solar information to fine-tune your course. The integration of magnetic, thermal, and optical navigation cues creates a guidance system of extraordinary precision. As the day progresses and your migration gains momentum, you begin to encounter other great whites following similar routes. These encounters are brief but significant, confirming that you are following the correct path and that the seasonal migration is beginning in earnest. The ocean, which seemed empty just hours before, now reveals itself to be full of purposeful movement as countless species respond to the ancient call of the seasons. Your journey has entered a new phase, one that will test your endurance and navigation skills over thousands of miles of open ocean. The seasonal migration is one of the most remarkable phenomena in the natural world, a testament to the incredible precision of biological navigation systems and the deep connections that bind all ocean life to the rhythms of the planet itself. The water ahead holds the promise of new feeding grounds, new challenges, and new opportunities. Your body, perfectly adapted for this epic journey, carries you forward with the power and grace of a creature following one of the oldest pathways in the sea. The migration has begun, and the ocean's vast wilderness awaits your passage through its endless blue expanse. Courtship dance. The water around you carries a new chemical signature, one that triggers responses deep in your nervous system that have remained dormant for months. The scent molecules drifting through the ocean speak of another great white, not the familiar electrical signature of a hunting competitor, but something far more complex and compelling. This is the chemical calling card of a mature female, her reproductive hormones dispersing through the water like an invisible invitation written in the language of biology. Your body responds to this stimulus with changes that are both subtle and profound. Your swimming pattern shifts, becoming more deliberate and purposeful as you alter course to follow the scent trail. Your lateral line system, normally focused on detecting prey and navigating currents, now tunes itself to the specific pressure waves created by another large shark moving through the water. This is the beginning of one of the ocean's most ancient and mysterious rituals, the courtship dance of great white sharks. The female's electrical signature becomes stronger as you close the distance between you, her massive form creating bioelectric fields that your ampulle of Lorenzini read with increasing clarity. She is slightly larger than you, her body carrying the robust proportions of a mature female in prime reproductive condition. Her movements through the water speak of confidence and power, the fluid grace of a predator who has survived long enough to pass her genes to the next generation. Your approach is carefully orchestrated, following behavioral patterns that have evolved over millions of years to ensure successful reproduction, while minimizing the risk of injury to both participants. The courtship of great whites is a delicate balance of attraction and caution, requiring precise timing and clear communication between two of the ocean's most powerful predators. The female's response to your presence is initially one of alert evaluation. Her movements become more purposeful as she assesses your size, condition, and intentions. In the world of great white sharks, successful reproduction requires choosing the right partner, one who possesses the genetic qualities that will give offspring the best chance of survival in the challenging marine environment. Your circling dance begins at a respectful distance, your bodies moving in a complex three-dimensional ballet that allows each participant to evaluate the other's fitness and intentions. The female's powerful tail creates pressure waves that your lateral line system reads like a book, telling you about her size, health, and reproductive readiness. Her own senses are equally active, assessing your physical condition and genetic quality. The water between you becomes charged with chemical communication as pheromones and other signaling molecules create an invisible dialogue. Your liver, swollen with oils from recent feeding, releases chemical signatures that communicate your nutritional status and overall health. These molecular messages are as important as any visual display, providing crucial information about your fitness as a potential mate. Your movements become increasingly synchronized as the courtship dance progresses. The initial circles tighten gradually, your bodies moving in complementary patterns that demonstrate your mutual interest and compatibility. This is not the chaotic encounter of territorial rivals, but the measured choreography of potential partners evaluating each other's suitability for reproduction. The female's behavior shifts subtly as she becomes more comfortable with your presence. Her movements become less guarded, more fluid, allowing you to approach more closely while maintaining the careful distance that ensures both participants' safety. In the world of apex predators, even courtship requires careful negotiation to avoid the risk of injury. Your own body language changes as the dance continues, your movements becoming more gentle and deliberate. The test bites that characterize great white courtship are not aggressive attacks but careful investigations, allowing each participant to assess the other's skin thickness, muscle tone, and overall physical condition. These gentle contacts are crucial for evaluating reproductive compatibility. The ocean around you seems to fade into the background as the courtship ritual intensifies. Your normal awareness of prey animals, current patterns, and environmental conditions becomes secondary to the complex behavioral patterns that govern this ancient dance. This is one of the few times in your solitary existence when the presence of another great white is not just tolerated but actively sought. The female's response to your test bites is measured and appropriate, her own gentle investigations confirming your suitability as a mate. The thick skin and powerful musculature that make great whites such effective predators also serve as protection during these ritualized encounters, allowing physical contact without significant injury. Your circling pattern brings you closer to the female's massive form, your movements now synchronized in a complex underwater ballet. The size difference between you becomes more apparent at close range, her slightly larger frame speaking of successful survival and the accumulated experience that comes with maturity. This size advantage is not just physical, it represents the genetic legacy of generations of successful great whites. The courtship dance reaches its climax as your bodies move in perfect synchronization, your movements coordinated by millions of years of evolutionary refinement. The actual mating is brief but intense, a moment of vulnerability for both participants that requires absolute trust and precise timing. Your reproductive success depends not just on finding a mate, but on choosing the right partner at the right time in the right place. The biochemical changes that accompany reproduction alter your body's chemistry in subtle but important ways. Hormones that have remained dormant for months surge through your system, triggering changes in behavior, metabolism, and sensory perception. These changes are temporary but profound, marking one of the most significant events in your life cycle. The female's response to successful mating is immediate and decisive. Her body language changes from receptive to dismissive, her movements making it clear that the courtship ritual is complete. This is not rejection but biology. Her reproductive needs are now satisfied, and her focus returns to the essential business of survival and gestation. Your own behavior shifts as the mating encounter concludes, the intense focus of courtship giving way to the more familiar patterns of solitary existence. The brief partnership is over, but its effects will ripple through the ocean ecosystem for years to come. Somewhere in the female's reproductive system, the genetic combination that will create the next generation of great whites is already beginning to develop. The parting is as ritualized as the courtship itself, your movements gradually separating as you return to your respective life patterns. The female will carry the developing embryos for nearly a year, her body serving as a mobile nursery that will eventually release fully developed young sharks into the ocean. Your role in this process is complete, but its significance is profound. The water around you begins to clear of the chemical signatures that marked the courtship encounter, the molecular messages of reproduction dissipating into the vast ocean. Your senses gradually return to their normal patterns of prey detection and environmental monitoring, the intense focus of reproduction giving way to the more familiar rhythms of predatory life. The encounter has been brief but transformative, a reminder that even the ocean's most solitary predators are part of a larger biological community, bound together by the ancient imperatives of reproduction and survival. Your genes, combined with those of your mate, will contribute to the continuation of a lineage that stretches back hundreds of millions of years. As you resume your solitary journey through the ocean's vast wilderness, you carry with you the satisfaction of successful reproduction and the knowledge that you have played your part in ensuring the survival of your species. The courtship dance is over, but its effects will echo through the generations, contributing to the endless cycle of life that defines the ocean's most magnificent predators. The ocean ahead holds new challenges and opportunities, but also the quiet satisfaction of biological success. Your journey continues, but now with the knowledge that you have contributed to the future of your species, ensuring that the ancient lineage of great white sharks will continue to patrol the world's oceans for generations to come. Deep Dive Chill. The familiar rhythm of surface and mid-water cruising begins to feel insufficient as your body responds to internal cues that have been building for hours. Something deep in your physiology calls for a different kind of environment, the high-pressure, near-freezing world of the deep ocean that lies far below the sunlit layers where you have spent most of your recent time. This is not migration or hunting, but a biological imperative as old as your species itself. Your descent begins gradually, your powerful tail driving you downward through the familiar blue-green waters of the upper ocean. The pressure increases steadily against your body, but your cartilaginous skeleton and gas-filled organs adjust automatically to accommodate the changing conditions. Unlike bony fish, which can be crushed by rapid pressure changes, your body is designed to handle the full range of oceanic depths. At 200 feet, the water takes on a deeper blue hue as the longer wavelengths of light are absorbed by the increasing depth of water above you. Your eyes automatically adjust to the changing light conditions, your pupils dilating to capture every available photon. The visual world becomes increasingly monochromatic, dominated by the blue-green wavelengths that penetrate deepest into the water column. 400 feet down, the temperature begins to drop noticeably. The sun's warmth now blocked by hundreds of feet of water. Your internal heat exchange system responds immediately, constricting blood vessels in your extremities to conserve core body heat while maintaining the temperature differential that keeps your muscles functional. This is thermoregulation at its most sophisticated, allowing you to remain active in conditions that would paralyze most other fish. The pressure at 600 feet creates a sensation like being wrapped in an increasingly tight embrace. Your body cavity compresses slightly, your organs shifting position to accommodate the changing volume. But your physiology is perfectly adapted to these conditions. Your liver adjusts its oil content to maintain neutral buoyancy, while your cartilaginous skeleton flexes without breaking under the mounting pressure. At 800 feet, you cross into a realm that few surface dwellers ever experience. The water here is perpetually cold, hovering just above freezing regardless of the season or surface conditions. Your body's natural antifreeze proteins, circulating in your blood and other bodily fluids, prevent ice crystal formation that would otherwise damage your cells. This is life at the edge of the possible, where only the most perfectly adapted creatures can survive. The darkness at this depth is nearly absolute, broken only by the occasional flash of bioluminescence from deep-sea creatures going about their mysterious business. Your eyes, now operating at maximum sensitivity, can detect even the faintest gleam of biological light. The visual world has become one of brief, ghostly illuminations against a backdrop of endless black. Your lateral line system takes on increased importance in this environment where vision is limited. The pressure waves created by moving creatures travel differently in the high-pressure environment of the deep, their characteristics altered by the dense water and the bodies of the creatures that generate them. Your nervous system adapts to these new conditions, recalibrating your sensory perception to match the unique acoustic environment of the deep ocean. The creatures you encounter at this depth are unlike anything in the surface world. Bioluminescent jellyfish pulse through the water like living galaxies, their translucent bodies creating ethereal displays of blue and green light. Deep-sea fish with enormous eyes and mouths drift past like aliens from another world, their bodies adapted for life in the perpetual darkness of the abyss. Your metabolism slows dramatically in response to the cold water, your body automatically adjusting to conserve energy in the challenging deep-sea environment. Your heart rate drops to match the slower pace of life at depth, each beat carefully measured to maintain circulation while minimizing energy expenditure. This is metabolic efficiency at its extreme, allowing you to function in conditions that would quickly exhaust creatures adapted to warmer waters. The pressure at this depth compresses your body to dimensions that would be impossible at the surface. Your swim bladder, if you had one, would be crushed to a fraction of its normal size. But your oil-filled liver serves as a more adaptable buoyancy control system. its density adjusting automatically to maintain your position in the water column, despite the extreme pressure. Strange sounds filter through the water at this depth, the creaking of deep-sea creatures under pressure, the distant rumble of underwater avalanches, and the mysterious groaning of the ocean floor itself as it adjusts to tectonic forces. Your lateral line system processes these alien sounds, building a picture of the deep-sea environment that is both familiar and utterly foreign. The water itself has different properties at this depth. The immense pressure alters the behavior of sound waves, creating acoustic conditions that allow some frequencies to travel for thousands of miles, while others are absorbed within a few hundred feet. Your brain automatically adjusts to these new acoustic properties, recalibrating your sensory processing to match the unique characteristics of the deep ocean environment. Your breathing becomes deeper and more deliberate in the oxygen-poor water of the deep. Your gills work harder to extract the life-giving gas from water that holds less dissolved oxygen than the surface layers. Each breath is more precious here, requiring careful management to ensure that your oxygen supply remains adequate for your metabolic needs. The bioluminescent creatures around you create a constantly changing light show as they respond to your presence. Some flash in alarm, their light serving as a warning to other creatures of your approach. Others pulse with what appears to be curiosity, their alien intelligence trying to comprehend the nature of this massive visitor from the upper world. Your body begins to enter a state of deep meditation, your consciousness adapting to the profound stillness of the deep ocean. Time moves differently here, where the daily cycle of light and darkness is replaced by the eternal night of the abyss. Your movements become slower and more deliberate, matching the pace of life in this high-pressure environment. The pressure at this depth affects even your thoughts, the compressed water creating a sensory environment that is both muffling and intensifying. Sounds that would be sharp and clear at the surface become muffled and distorted, while the pressure waves created by your own movements seem amplified and more significant. Your journey into the deep is more than just a physical descent. It is a return to the most ancient environment on Earth, the crushing depths, where life first evolved, and where the most fundamental processes of existence continue to unfold. Here, in the perpetual darkness and crushing pressure, you connect with the deepest roots of your evolutionary heritage. The cold water begins to penetrate your body's heat exchange system, creating a chill that reaches into your core. But this is not the dangerous cold of hypothermia. It is the cleansing cold of the deep, washing away the accumulated heat and stress of surface life. Your body welcomes this thermal shock, using it to reset and refresh your physiological systems. As you reach the maximum depth of your dive, nearly 1,000 feet below the surface, your body enters a state of perfect stillness. Your movements become minimal, your breathing slow and deep, your heart rate dropping to levels that would be alarming at the surface, but are perfectly normal in the deep. This is meditation in its purest form, a complete surrender to the ancient rhythms of the abyss. The return journey to the surface will come later, when your body has absorbed the full benefit of this deep-sea immersion. For now, you float in the crushing darkness, your consciousness expanded by the profound silence and your body refreshed by the cleansing cold. This is the deep ocean's gift to those who dare to visit its most extreme depths, a reminder of the vast mystery that lies beneath the waves and the incredible adaptability of life in the sea's most challenging environments. Nightfall Circuit. The ascent from the crushing depths brings with it a gradual return to the familiar rhythms of the middle ocean. But as you rise through the water column, the world above undergoes its own transformation. The sun's daily journey across the sky has reached its end, and darkness begins to spread across the ocean's surface like a vast, soft blanket. This is the transition that marks one of the most significant changes in the marine environment, the shift from day to night that triggers behaviors and opportunities found nowhere else in the natural world. Your eyes, already adapted to the low-light conditions of the deep dive, adjust smoothly to the changing illumination as you approach the surface layers. The harsh, bright light of midday has given way to the softer, more diffuse glow of twilight, creating an underwater environment that is both mysterious and inviting. This is the blue hour of the ocean, when the boundary between day and night creates unique conditions for hunting and exploration. The water around you begins to come alive with creatures that have spent the daylight hours in the safety of the deep. This is the beginning of the ocean's greatest daily migration, the vertical movement of countless species that rises from the depths each night to feed in the nutrient-rich surface waters. Lanternfish, squid, and countless other creatures begin their upward journey, creating a living river of biomass that flows from the abyss to the surface. Your lateral line system detects the pressure waves created by this massive movement of marine life, the water around you pulsing with the vibrations of millions of creatures in motion. This vertical migration represents one of the largest movements of biomass on Earth, dwarfing even the great terrestrial migrations in terms of sheer numbers of participants. The first squid begin to appear in your peripheral vision, their torpedo-shaped bodies propelling them upward through the water column with characteristic jet propulsion. These cephalopods are masters of the night ocean, their large eyes and sophisticated nervous systems making them perfectly adapted for nocturnal hunting. Their presence signals the beginning of the night shift in the ocean's complex ecosystem. Your swimming pattern adjusts to take advantage of the changing conditions, your movements becoming more purposeful as you begin to patrol the boundaries of your territory. The concept of territory for a great white shark is fluid and three-dimensional, encompassing not just a specific area of ocean but also the vertical water column and the temporal patterns of prey movement. Night hunting requires different strategies than daytime feeding, and your behavior adapts accordingly. The surface of the ocean, now silvered by moonlight, creates a mirror-like ceiling that reflects the bioluminescent displays of the creatures below. Schools of fish, their scales catching and reflecting the available light, create moving patterns of silver and shadow that your eyes track with predatory interest. These nocturnal fish are often different species than their daytime counterparts, adapted for life in the low-light conditions of the night ocean. Your electroreceptors begin to detect the increased electrical activity that characterizes the night ocean. The vertical migration of countless creatures creates a complex bioelectric environment, with millions of nervous systems generating electrical fields that your ampullae of Lorenzini can detect from considerable distances. This electrical symphony provides crucial information about the location and behavior of potential prey. The temperature of the water begins to drop as the sun's heating effect diminishes, creating subtle thermal layers that affect the behavior of both predator and prey. Your body's heat exchange system adjusts to maintain optimal operating temperature, while your brain processes the thermal information to predict where prey species are likely to concentrate. The acoustic environment of the night ocean is distinctly different from its daytime counterpart. The sounds of surface activity, waves, wind, and human activity are often reduced, creating a quieter backdrop against which the subtler sounds of marine life become more apparent. Your lateral line system takes advantage of this acoustic clarity to detect the movements of potential prey with greater precision. Nocturnal predators begin to emerge from their daytime hiding places, creating a more complex and competitive hunting environment. Other sharks, rays, and large fish that avoid the bright conditions of day begin their own hunting activities, forcing you to be more aware of both opportunities and potential conflicts. The night ocean is a different world, with its own rules and rhythms. Your patrol pattern becomes more systematic as you establish a circuit through the most productive areas of your territory. This is not random wandering, but a carefully planned route that takes advantage of current patterns, thermal layers, and the predicted movements of prey species. Your brain, constantly processing sensory information, updates this patrol route based on real-time conditions. The moonlight filtering through the water creates an ethereal illumination that transforms the underwater landscape. Familiar features take on new characteristics in the silvery light, while shadows and reflections create a more complex visual environment. Your eyes, now operating at peak sensitivity, can detect even the slightest movement in this twilight world. Schools of small fish begin to rise from the depths, their movements creating pressure waves that your lateral line system reads like a book. These fish are following their own ancient patterns, rising to feed on the phytoplankton and zooplankton that concentrate in the surface waters during the night. Their predictable behavior makes them ideal targets for a patient predator. The water around you begins to sparkle with bioluminescence as your movements disturb the plankton that have risen to the surface. These microscopic creatures create trails of blue-green light that follow your passage through the water, turning your nocturnal patrol into a display of living fireworks. The bioluminescence serves multiple purposes: defense, communication, and predator confusion. But for you, it is simply a beautiful reminder of the ocean's incredible diversity. Your hunting strategy shifts to accommodate the unique conditions of night feeding. The reduced visibility requires greater reliance on your other senses, while the different behavior patterns of nocturnal prey species demand new approaches to stalking and ambush. Your movements become more deliberate and patient, matching the slower pace of night hunting. The territorial boundaries that you patrol are marked not by physical features, but by scent trails, electrical signatures, and acoustic patterns that other sharks can detect and interpret. Your presence in these waters is announced by the chemical messages that your body constantly releases, creating an invisible territory that extends far beyond your physical location. As the night deepens, the ocean's productivity increases dramatically. The vertical migration brings nutrients and energy from the deep ocean to the surface, creating feeding opportunities that don't exist during the day. Your patrol route takes you through areas where these nutrients concentrate, increasing your chances of encountering prey species that are actively feeding. The rhythmic sound of distant waves breaking against unseen shores provides a constant background rhythm to your nocturnal activities. This acoustic beacon helps orient you in the vast ocean, providing directional information that supplements your magnetic compass. The ocean's geography is written in sound as much as in physical features, and your brain constantly processes these acoustic cues. Your breathing pattern adjusts to match the demands of night hunting, your gills working more efficiently in the cooler water, while your oxygen consumption increases slightly to support the heightened sensory processing required for nocturnal activity. The night ocean demands more from your physiological systems, but it also offers greater rewards for successful hunters. The patrol continues through the night hours, your massive form cutting through the silvered water with predatory grace. Each circuit through your territory brings new information about the changing conditions, the movements of prey, and the activities of other predators. This is the night shift of the ocean's apex predator, a time when the rules of the marine world are rewritten by darkness and moonlight. The stars above provide additional navigation references, their light filtering through the water to create a celestial map that your brain can read and interpret. The night ocean is connected to the cosmos in ways that the day ocean never is, with stellar navigation playing a crucial role in the movements of many marine species. As dawn approaches, your nocturnal patrol will give way to the different rhythms of day hunting, but for now, you are the master of the night ocean. Your senses perfectly tuned to the unique challenges and opportunities of darkness. The circuit continues, each movement bringing you closer to your next encounter with the abundant life that characterizes the ocean's nocturnal world. Whale carcass feast. The scent reaches you from miles away, carried on the ocean currents like a chemical message written in the language of death and opportunity. It is the unmistakable signature of a whale fall. The massive carcass of a deceased whale that has either sunk to the ocean floor or is drifting in the water column, creating one of the most significant feeding opportunities in the marine ecosystem. Your olfactory system processes this information, with the precision of a chemical laboratory, determining not just the presence of the carcass, but its size, condition, and approximate location. Your body responds to this stimulus with changes that are both immediate and profound. The lazy patrol pattern of the night hunt gives way to a more purposeful swimming style as you alter course to intercept the scent trail. Your tail beat increases in frequency and power, driving you through the water with the determination of a predator who has detected a once-in-a-lifetime feeding opportunity. The chemical gradient grows stronger as you follow the scent trail, your sensitive nose reading the molecular story of the whale's death. The carcass is fresh enough to be valuable but old enough to have begun the process of decomposition that makes it accessible to scavengers. This is the perfect timing for a whalefall encounter, the brief window when the massive body offers maximum nutritional value with minimum competition from bacterial decay. As you approach the source of the scent, your other senses begin to provide additional information about the feast ahead. Your lateral line system detects the pressure waves created by other scavengers already at work on the carcass, while your electroreceptors register the bioelectric signatures of various species that have gathered to take advantage of this marine bonanza. The whale carcass materializes from the blue distance like a massive underwater island, its bulk creating a distinctive silhouette against the darker water below. The sheer size of the body is staggering. A blue whale that may have weighed over 100 tons when alive, now representing the largest single source of nutrition you are ever likely to encounter. The carcass drifts slowly in the current, its movement creating subtle pressure waves that your senses have been tracking for miles. You are not alone in recognizing this opportunity. Other sharks have already arrived, their dark forms circling the carcass in a complex dance of feeding hierarchy and territorial negotiation. The gathering includes members of your own species, as well as other large sharks, each following their own scent trail to this underwater feast. The scene is one of organized chaos, with each species following its own feeding strategy while avoiding conflict with the others. Your approach to the carcass is measured and respectful, following the unwritten rules of scavenger etiquette that govern such encounters. The largest sharks feed first, their size and power giving them priority access to the richest parts of the carcass. Your own impressive dimensions earn you a position in this hierarchy, but the feeding order is determined by a complex mix of size, aggression, and experience. The whale's massive body shows the characteristic signs of a natural death. No wounds from predators or human activity, just the inevitable end of a life that may have spanned decades. The carcass floats with the distinctive posture of a whale fall, its massive bulk creating currents and eddies that affect the movement of all the creatures gathered around it. Your first bite is tentative, testing the quality and condition of the meat. The flesh is rich and oily, packed with the nutrients that sustain the whale's massive body during its lifetime. The blubber layer, thick and energy-dense, represents a concentration of calories that could sustain you for weeks. This is feeding on a scale that matches your own massive proportions, a meal worthy of one of the ocean's largest predators. The feeding process is surprisingly orderly, with each species following its own preferred feeding strategy. The largest sharks take massive bites from the prime locations, while smaller species work on the edges and in the spaces between the larger predators. Hagfish and other bottom-dwelling scavengers work from the inside out, their specialized feeding apparatus allowing them to access parts of the carcass that are unavailable to other species. Your feeding technique adapts to the unique challenges of consuming such a massive prey item. Rather than the quick, decisive bites of normal hunting, whale fall feeding requires a more methodical approach. You position yourself carefully, using your powerful jaws to remove large sections of blubber and muscle, while avoiding the bones and other indigestible parts of the carcass. The nutritional value of the whale meat is extraordinary, each bite providing more calories than you would normally consume in days of regular feeding. Your digestive system, already adapted for processing large, infrequent meals, works at maximum efficiency to extract every possible calorie from this feast. Your liver begins to swell as it processes the massive influx of oils and fats, storing energy that will sustain you through thousands of miles of ocean travel. The social dynamics of the feeding event are complex and fascinating. Competition for the best feeding positions is balanced by the sheer size of the resource, which is large enough to satisfy many predators simultaneously. Temporary alliances form and dissolve as different species coordinate their feeding activities, while aggressive encounters are surprisingly rare given the number of large predators in close proximity. Other scavengers arrive continuously, drawn by the same chemical signals that brought you to the carcass. Deep-sea fish, crustaceans, and countless invertebrates join the feeding frenzy, creating a temporary ecosystem centered around the whale's massive body. The diversity of species at a whale fall is extraordinary, representing one of the most complete cross-sections of marine life found anywhere in the ocean. Your feeding is interrupted periodically by the need to avoid other large predators and to reposition yourself for access to the richest parts of the carcass. The feeding hierarchy is fluid, with positions changing based on the aggressive displays and territorial negotiations of the participants. Your own size and reputation earn you respect, but the competition for the best feeding positions is constant. The water around the carcass becomes increasingly turbid as the feeding progresses, filled with particles of flesh, blood, and the waste products of intense scavenging activity. This organic cloud creates a unique chemical environment that attracts even more scavengers, while the reduced visibility changes the dynamics of the feeding event. Hours pass as you work methodically through the rich whale meat, your stomach expanding to accommodate the massive meal. The feeding is not frantic, but deliberate, each bite carefully chosen to maximize nutritional value while minimizing energy expenditure. This is efficiency feeding at its finest, taking advantage of a rare opportunity to consume enough calories to fuel weeks of ocean travel. The ecological importance of whale falls extends far beyond their value as food sources. These massive carcasses represent a crucial link in the ocean's carbon cycle, transferring nutrients from the surface waters where whales feed to the deep ocean where their bodies eventually sink. The nutrients released during decomposition support entire ecosystems, from the bacteria that break down the organic matter to the fish and invertebrates that feed on the scavengers. As your feeding session nears its end, your body heavy with the whale's rich meat, you begin to withdraw from the immediate area of the carcass. The feeding hierarchy shifts to accommodate your departure, with other predators moving into the positions you have vacated. The whale fall will continue to provide feeding opportunities for months or even years, its massive body supporting a succession of different species as it slowly decomposes. Your departure from the whale fall is gradual and purposeful, your movements careful to avoid aggressive encounters with other predators still actively feeding. The massive meal you have consumed will require careful digestion, and your body is already beginning the process of extracting maximum nutritional value from the feast. The memory of the whale fall will remain with you for months, a reminder of the ocean's incredible productivity and the remarkable opportunities that arise from the natural cycles of life and death in the marine environment. Such encounters are rare but crucial, providing the energy reserves needed for the long journeys and challenging conditions that characterize life as one of the ocean's apex predators. As you swim away from the feeding site, your body heavy with the whale's bounty, you carry with you not just the nutritional value of the meal, but also the deeper understanding of your place in the ocean's complex web of life and death. The whale fall has been more than just a feeding opportunity. It has been a reminder of the profound connections that bind all ocean life together in the endless cycle of energy and nutrients that defines the marine ecosystem. Storm surge. The first warning comes not through your eyes or ears, but through the most ancient and reliable of your senses, the ability to detect changes in atmospheric pressure that have been transmitted through the water column to reach your body hundreds of feet below the surface. Your lateral line system, that remarkable network of pressure-sensitive organs, registers the subtle but unmistakable vibrations that speak of atmospheric disturbance far above. A storm is approaching, and your body knows it long before the first waves begin to build. The pressure changes are subtle at first, like the gentle squeeze of an invisible hand around your massive frame. But your nervous system, refined over millions of years of evolution, reads these signals with the precision of a living barometer. The storm is still hours away, but your body is already beginning to prepare for the challenging conditions that lie ahead. Your swimming pattern begins to change as storm avoidance instincts take over. The leisurely pace of normal cruising gives way to a more purposeful movement as you seek the relative safety of deeper water. Storms affect the entire water column, but their impact diminishes with depth, and your survival strategy depends on finding the right balance between depth and mobility. The water around you begins to tell the story of the approaching disturbance through subtle changes in temperature, salinity, and current patterns. Storm systems create complex three-dimensional effects in the ocean, with surface winds driving currents that extend far below the visible wave action. Your body reads these changes like a book, interpreting the ocean's response to the atmospheric chaos above. The first visual signs of the storm appear as a gradual darkening of the water column above you. The normal blue-green illumination of the upper ocean becomes muted and grey as storm clouds block the sun's rays. Your eyes adjust automatically to the reduced light levels, but the changing illumination creates an ominous atmosphere that affects your behavior and decision-making. Lightning begins to flash overhead, its electrical discharge creating brief, intense illuminations that penetrate the water column like underwater strobe lights. Your electroreceptors detect these massive electrical events, their intensity overwhelming your normal sensory input and creating a form of electrical noise that interferes with your ability to detect prey and navigate. The storm is announcing its presence through every sense you possess. The sound of the approaching storm reaches you as a deep, rumbling vibration that travels through the water with the inevitability of an earthquake. This is not the sharp crack of lightning or the whistle of wind, but the fundamental bass note of a massive atmospheric disturbance. Your lateral line system processes this sound with growing concern, recognizing it as the acoustic signature of conditions that will soon make surface activity impossible. Your depth increases as you seek refuge in the more stable layers of the deep ocean. The pressure waves from the storm penetrate surprisingly deep, but their intensity diminishes with distance from the surface. At 200 feet, the storm's effects are noticeable but manageable. At 300 feet, they become more like distant thunder. At 400 feet, you find the balance between safety and mobility that will allow you to ride out the storm. The water temperature begins to fluctuate as the storm's effects reach your depth. Surface turbulence mixes warm and cold water masses, creating thermal layers that shift and change with the storm's intensity. Your body's heat exchange system works overtime to maintain optimal operating temperature, as these thermal fluctuations challenge your physiological stability. Above you, the ocean's surface transforms into a chaos of wind-driven waves and foam. The normally smooth interface between water and air becomes a turbulent boundary layer where the two elements mix in violent confusion. The sound of this surface chaos reaches you as a constant roar, like standing next to a massive waterfall. Your brain processes this acoustic information, building a picture of the storm's intensity and duration. The current patterns around you shift dramatically as the storm's winds drive surface waters in new directions. These wind-driven currents create a complex three-dimensional flow pattern that extends far below the surface, affecting your movement and navigation. Your body automatically adjusts to these changing conditions, using your powerful muscles to maintain position and heading despite the turbulent water. Marine life around you responds to the storm with its own survival strategies. Fish schools that normally swim near the surface dive deeper, seeking the same refuge from turbulence that you are pursuing. The entire ecosystem shifts downward, creating a temporary concentration of life in the deeper waters where storm effects are minimized. Your breathing becomes more labored as the storm's effects reach your depth. The turbulent mixing of water masses affects the dissolved oxygen content, creating pockets of water with reduced oxygen levels. Your gills work harder to extract sufficient oxygen from the storm-affected water, while your metabolism adjusts to accommodate the reduced oxygen availability. The electrical environment becomes chaotic as the storm's lightning creates massive electrical discharges that overwhelm your normal electroreception. The constant electrical noise makes it difficult to detect the bioelectric signatures of prey or other sharks, effectively blinding one of your most important senses. You must rely more heavily on your other senses to navigate and survive until the storm passes. Debris begins to rain down from the surface as the storm's violence tears objects from the ocean's surface and drives them into the depths. Seaweed, pieces of wood, and other floating materials create a hazardous environment that requires constant vigilance to avoid. Your lateral line system helps you detect and avoid these obstacles, but the debris field adds another layer of complexity to storm survival. The pressure waves from the storm create a form of underwater turbulence that affects your movement and stability. Your powerful swimming muscles work constantly to maintain your position and heading, fighting against the three-dimensional turbulence that the storm creates in the water column. This is exhausting work that requires careful energy management to avoid fatigue. You seek shelter behind an underwater ridge, a geological feature that provides some protection from the storm's effects. The ridge creates a pressure shadow that reduces the intensity of the storm-driven turbulence, allowing you to rest and conserve energy while the storm passes overhead. This is strategic thinking at its most basic level, using the ocean's topography to survive atmospheric violence. The storm's peak intensity creates conditions that are truly hellish, even at depth. The water around you shudders with the impact of massive waves hitting the surface, while the pressure waves from lightning strikes create a constant barrage of electrical interference. Your body hunkers down in the shelter of the ridge, waiting for the storm to exhaust itself against the ocean's vast inertia. Hours pass as the storm rages overhead, its intensity gradually diminishing as it moves away from your location. The pressure waves become less frequent and less intense, while the electrical interference begins to clear. Your senses gradually return to normal function as the storm's effects fade, allowing you to assess the post-storm conditions and plan your next moves. The water around you begins to clear as the storm-driven turbulence subsides. The debris field settles or is carried away by the changing currents, while the thermal layers begin to restabilize. Your body, stressed by hours of fighting the storm's effects, begins to relax as normal conditions return to your underwater environment. The storm's passage leaves behind a changed ocean. New current patterns, altered thermal layers, and disturbed marine life create a different environment than the one you knew before the storm. Your senses work to map these changes, updating your mental picture of the ocean environment to reflect the storm's impact. As calm returns to the waters around you, you begin to emerge from your shelter behind the ridge. The storm has passed, but its effects will linger for days as the ocean slowly returns to its normal patterns. Your survival of this meteorological challenge is a testament to the remarkable adaptability that has allowed your species to thrive in the ocean's most challenging conditions. The experience of the storm has been both terrifying and educational, a reminder of the raw power of nature and the delicate balance that all marine life must maintain to survive in the ocean's ever-changing environment. You have weathered the storm, but the memory of its violence will influence your behavior and decision-making for days to come, adding another layer to the complex survival strategies that define life as one of the ocean's apex predators. Rival approach. The post-storm ocean carries with it a deceptive calm that belies the tension now building in the water around you. Your electroreceptors, finally free from the electrical interference of the recent storm, begin to detect a bioelectric signature that immediately commands your attention. This is not the familiar pattern of prey or the distant echo of marine life going about its business. This is the unmistakable electrical field of another great white shark, and one whose size and power rival your own. The approaching shark's electrical signature grows stronger with each passing minute, indicating a direct course toward your position. Your body responds to this stimulus with subtle but significant changes in posture and behavior. Your pectoral fins extend slightly, creating a more imposing silhouette, while your tail beat becomes more pronounced and deliberate. These are not conscious decisions but ancient behavioral patterns encoded in your DNA, responses that have governed great white encounters for millions of years. Your lateral line system provides additional information about the approaching shark as the distance between you decreases. The pressure waves created by the newcomer's swimming pattern speak of impressive size and confident movement. This is clearly a mature adult, possibly female given the breadth of the pressure signature, and her approach suggests either territorial interest or competitive assessment rather than mere coincidence. The water between you carries chemical messages that both sharks can read and interpret. Your own scent signature, marking you as a mature male in prime condition, mingles with the approaching female's pheromones to create a complex chemical dialogue. These molecular conversations convey information about size, health, reproductive status, and recent feeding success, a biological resume that both predators process with the skill of experienced negotiators. Your swimming pattern adjusts automatically as the encounter becomes inevitable. The lazy, energy-conserving cruise of storm recovery gives way to a more purposeful movement pattern designed to display your size and condition to best advantage. Your body language must communicate strength and confidence while avoiding the aggressive displays that could trigger a dangerous confrontation. The female materializes from the blue distance like a force of nature, her massive form commanding immediate respect. She is indeed larger than you, her body carrying the robust proportions of a mature female who has survived long enough to reach the apex of her species' size potential. Her movements are fluid and confident, speaking of a predator who has few equals in the ocean's hierarchy. Your initial response to her presence is a careful balancing act between respect and assertion. You maintain your course and speed, signaling that you are not intimidated by her size, while avoiding the aggressive displays that could escalate the encounter into dangerous territory. The unwritten rules of great white interaction are complex and nuanced, requiring split-second decisions that can mean the difference between peaceful coexistence and violent confrontation. The female's approach is measured and purposeful, her body language communicating assessment rather than aggression. She circles at a respectful distance, her movements creating pressure waves that your lateral line system reads like a book. Her electrical signature reveals a predator in excellent condition, well-fed and confident, with no obvious signs of stress or injury that might trigger defensive behavior. Your own circling pattern mirrors hers, creating a complex underwater dance that serves multiple purposes. This ritualized behavior allows both sharks to assess each other's size, condition, and intentions while maintaining the distance necessary to avoid accidental contact. The choreography is ancient and sophisticated, a form of communication that predates language by hundreds of millions of years. The size difference between you becomes more apparent as the circling continues. Her advantage in length and mass is significant but not overwhelming, creating a hierarchical situation that requires careful negotiation. In the world of great whites, size typically determines dominance, but the relationship is complex and depends on factors beyond mere physical dimensions. Your response to her dominance is neither submission nor challenge, but a form of respectful acknowledgement that recognizes her superior size while maintaining your own dignity. Your body language shifts subtly, your movements becoming slightly more deferential, while avoiding the extreme submissive postures that would indicate fear or weakness. This is diplomacy at its most fundamental level, conducted through body language and chemical signals rather than words. The female's behavior suggests that this encounter is more about territorial assessment than aggressive competition. Her movements are confident but not threatening, indicating that she is evaluating your presence in her territory rather than seeking confrontation. The ocean is vast, but the most productive feeding areas are limited, and great whites must constantly negotiate their use of these valuable resources. Your own territorial claims are communicated through subtle changes in your swimming pattern and chemical emissions. The scent trails you leave behind serve as a form of biological graffiti, marking your presence and movements through the water. These chemical signatures can persist for hours, providing other sharks with information about your size, condition, and recent activities. The negotiation continues through a series of carefully orchestrated movements and displays. Neither shark seeks confrontation, but both must establish their position in the local hierarchy. Your younger age and smaller size place you at a disadvantage, but your excellent condition and obvious hunting success earn you a measure of respect that prevents dismissive treatment. The female's dominance is established through a combination of size, confidence, and territorial familiarity. Her knowledge of the local area gives her additional advantages in the form of knowledge about feeding opportunities, current patterns, and the movements of other predators. This home field advantage is as important as physical size in determining the outcome of the encounter. Your response to her established dominance is a gradual withdrawal that acknowledges her superior position while maintaining your own dignity. The movement is neither flight nor retreat, but a form of respectful yielding that recognizes the reality of the size hierarchy while avoiding the energy costs of futile confrontation. This is predator diplomacy at its most sophisticated, balancing pride and pragmatism in the face of superior force. The encounter's resolution comes not through dramatic confrontation, but through the gradual establishment of mutual understanding. The female's territorial claims are acknowledged. Your own presence is tolerated, and both sharks can continue their respective activities without the stress and energy cost of prolonged conflict. The ocean is large enough for both predators, provided they respect each other's space and capabilities. As the formal encounter winds down, both sharks begin to adjust their behavior for coexistence in the same general area. Your movements become more circumspect, avoiding the core areas of the female's territory while maintaining access to the broader feeding grounds. This is not surrender, but strategic accommodation, allowing both predators to benefit from the area's resources without constant conflict. The female's acceptance of your presence, conditional though it may be, represents a form of ecological success. Your ability to negotiate this encounter without injury or excessive energy expenditure demonstrates the sophisticated social behaviors that allow multiple large predators to coexist in the same environment. These skills are as important for survival as hunting ability or physical prowess. Your swimming pattern settles into a new rhythm that reflects the changed dynamics of the area. The female's presence creates invisible boundaries that you must respect, but it also provides opportunities for learning and observation. Her superior size and experience make her an excellent indicator of feeding opportunities and environmental conditions. The encounter has been a masterclass in predator diplomacy, demonstrating the complex social behaviors that govern interactions between apex predators. Violence has been avoided through careful communication and mutual respect, allowing both sharks to continue their essential activities without the disruption of prolonged conflict. This is the reality of great white social behavior, not the mindless aggression of popular imagination, but sophisticated negotiation between intelligent predators. As you settle into the new territorial arrangement, your body language relaxes slightly, the tension of the encounter giving way to the focused awareness required for successful coexistence. The female's presence will influence your behavior for days to come, but the immediate crisis has passed, resolved through the ancient protocols that govern great white interactions. The ocean around you returns to its normal rhythm, but the memory of the encounter remains encoded in your behavior and decision-making processes. You have successfully navigated one of the most challenging aspects of great white existence, the delicate balance between competition and coexistence that defines life as one of the ocean's apex predators.